Woogie's also tall.
Party invite.
You know?
What? I'm taller than Woogie.
Yeah, but do you have the jump height for it? Because
I don't know.
You have to be able to. Yeah, exactly. If you don't know, that means you don't
Well,
train.
you just commented on Woogie being tall, and then I just say I'm tall.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but
yeah, so I literally just.
Then Woogie, I know Woogie also exercises. He also goes to the gym. And
I need friends. Yo, someone.
Hi chat. Hello. Hi everyone. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
Well, because I had a very traumatic gym experience in college.
At home, bro.
Yeah, but I'm not at home. Like if I was.
Hi chat. Hi chat. Hi chat. Hi level. Hi everyone. Hi everyone. Hi cat. Hi cute. Hi Vanu. Hi Kai. Hello. Hi. Hello. 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 Day 2 stream. Day 2 stream. Hi chat. What's up? What's up? What's up?
But college gyms are just something else, man. I get traumatized.
Alright, kind of gyms you guys have, but we have great gyms.
All right.
Like college gyms, everything. Move to Norway, man. Honestly, I wouldn't be opposed. Like when we're 40 and stuff, we could just all buy a farm together. I wouldn't be opposed to that. I'd love to have some dogs. Some
you were so
By the way, chat, I don't know what's going on in this call. They're kind of talking about stuff, and I'll be honest with you, I don't know. They're talking about like sports and stuff now. I don't know. I don't fit in with the sports chat. I don't do sports. I only watch sports. Anyways, that's what's happening right now. Also, what's up, Green? What's up, Doubtless? What's up, Leadraw? What's up, Vio? What's up, Jocelyn? Hi, Orbit. Hi, Aunt Low. Oh my God, everyone's here today. Holy shit. So Spectre, hello. Hi, Mega Lux. Hello. Hi, everyone. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Hi, I'm starting to stream a little crazy right now. My team is currently Reddoons and Boosfer, and yeah, that's what's happening.
Shit, America.
Like,
yeah.
Retiring like Norway, Switzerland, or just
yeah.
Kind of Finland.
Exactly.
That could be cool.
So, what's the current state of this economic? I don't even know what the fuck I'm saying, bro. Okay, anyways.
So Boosfer changed his mind. He's done moving in with us when he's 40.
Bruh,
yeah, when
40?
40, we can move there.
Yeah.
40?
When we're loaded, you know?
Listen, like, will you even live to 40? Like, come on now.
Well,
okay.
dude, our generation is probably gonna end up living in, like, possibly even living to 200.
Wait, no
what?
shot. Actually, no, I did recently.
Our generation can get. Do you know how crazy, what kind of crazy medicine we can get in our lifetime?
That's true. That's true.
People
he has a point.
Like, this is the time for innovation. Like, you have so many possibilities.
I don't want to die yet.
What's up with us whenever we play like UHC? We also get into these philosophical conversations. Have you noticed?
I'm telling you, it's Boosfer, bro.
Nah,
It's
just for dudes, bro.
No.
With everybody else, we're just sweating. Yo, let's rush another,
Dude,
and then
Reddoons, yesterday, weren't we talking about crazy? Like, we're talking about like amazing stuff, colors, and then we're talking about like what else were we talking about? We're talking about.
This is not a.
Oh, you know, you're right. We were talking about colors. You're right.
Guys. This is not a
oh, my bad.
Come on now.
We're talking about crazy stuff yesterday, and then today we're just talking about political stuff. I'm talking about like.
No, hold on. We've not seen politics whatsoever. Hold on.
Yeah,
no.
Politics?
No.
Stupid?
Andres, we're content creators. We can't be political.
No, apparently Reddoons is like a communist or something yesterday. Remember that? Ooh, I don't know about that one.
Yeah, I know.
What was that yesterday?
Reddoons is a communist, bro.
Oh shit!
Wait a minute.
Okay.
Whoa.
He says that.
Whoa. What? I would never say that. I'm Swedish. That goes against my like.
Actually, yeah, you guys fought.
Yeah. Hold on.
Wait, we all fought.
That is just cap, man.
That's true. My bad.
You could have said any other country and got away with it. But
wait, who's your favorite soldier from the war? Mine is the Finnish sniper that had like 500 kills or something.
Oh, that guy. Yeah.
I
know what you're talking about. The white ghost, right?
Yeah. He was like a Finnish sniper that was like sniping.
He killed 200
people.
Russians in World War II.
Yeah, it was crazy.
So what's everyone's favorite like dish?
Filet mignon.
Oh, damn.
I'd say that's like one of my favorite. Oh, it's good. It's good. Booster, you gotta try that, man.
Okay. What about you, Booster? What about you? And don't you fucking dare say like chicken and rice, okay? Because I swear to God,
I don't know.
He's a gym nerd.
He's gonna be basic like that.
Basic, yeah. Literally sushi, like something like that.
I don't know, just whatever you feel like, you know.
What if I say arroz con pollo?
Oh. Wait.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why does that sound a little Russian?
Did that sound Russian?
A little bit, yeah. Like expressed in Spanish. Arroz.
Arroz con pollo.
Is that like a dish from Los
No, it's literally Spanish for chicken and rice.
What the fuck?
What about
in the wall? And
What
it
about
is
what about
attaching.
arepas?
Well, what is that's Peruvian? No, I think that's Peruvian.
I thought it was Colombian.
Colombian, maybe one of those.
I don't know. I just know that in Florida there's a lot of arepas that you
Oh
could get.
shoot!
Yeah.
I've never been to Florida. Should I visit Florida?
It's like nice if you go to the nice places. Very wacky if you go to the other places.
Oh
It's
yeah,
like
I've heard.
I think best way to put it, it's like jumping between MCCI and 2B2T back to back. You don't know what you're gonna get.
Oh damn!
It's
Okay,
like it's a
that's
very
wow. Wait, hold
every
on.
everything from like the chat logs to like the
Uh-huh.
hacking to all that stuff
But you can hack
to
in real
then
life.
like yeah, I think that's just called doing drugs.
Oh, okay. Well.
I'm pretty sure they do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Guys, I found the Bastion.
Oh, you're in the Nether.
Bye, Antlo. Bye. What's up, Evan Myers?
Oh, that's
Hello.
cool.
What's up, Vested Carp? Hello.
I got
What's up,
diamonds.
Orbit? What's up, B1? Hello. Sorry,
You can
chat.
get
We're
enchants,
talking
guys.
about crazy stuff. Well, do you have a? Wait, you're Nether booster?
Yep.
What is it? Is Bastion?
Yes, it's
Housing?
it is bridge and people.
Oh
have been
shit.
here already, so
Oh
it's
fuck.
not fun.
It's fine. Just try to get anything you can, really. I'm gonna try to find diamonds while we're in the caving right now.
Well, it's unfortunate.
Ah, dude. Yeah.
Yeah, somebody went here really fast. Could be a Nick Greninja in here.
Really?
No, not really. I don't know.
Wait, what's my
Someone did
nick?
Go here really fast.
Guess what my nick is?
Is it bought and bread?
Oh, how'd you get it?
No, that's me.
Yeah, never mind. It's not me.
See, I guess the dude with the the underscores again. Told you.
To be
it's a
fair,
scam.
bottom bread is like the most generic
Mine?
name
Guess
here.
mine. Guess mine. Guess mine. Guess mine.
I think I know it. I know it.
Okay, which one is it? Which one is it?
I'm gonna guess Kieran.
No.
No, actually, no, not that one.
Willard is not
Surely
sniping
that's
it now.
just
That's
What's up,
Andres.
one fan.
Saro?
No,
What's up?
no,
What's
no.
up? Hello, welcome to the stream,
Yeah,
guys.
Andres.
Yeah, it's me.
I think I think you're either gonna be Alfie 10 Lewis 14 or you're gonna be Jack Coop Co PP.
No, it has to be.
No,
it's
isn't
Max. Yep.
703.
What? No. Surely
Why do you
that
think it
can't be
was
Boosfer.
Nah, that's me, bro.
I don't believe it.
I will die right now to prove it.
I'll
Okay.
prove it.
Okay,
Don't
wait,
do
wait, no, wait, don't die, bro.
Do it right now.
Wait,
Do it right now.
Booster.
Come on.
I'm going through
Wait,
the-
Booster, what if we think of a new strat? Like you were thinking last time, remember? What if we do a villager strat next game? Not this one, next game.
Yeah,
Good
hear me
try.
out. What if we cure a villager and then just sit there farming melons all day to like get emeralds?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Why cure a villager?
Better
Booster
trades.
6?
Better trades, but like.
Yeah.
Oh, then so you mean igloo strat then?
Oh, I mean,
What?
I don't even think
Oh
there's
my god,
igloos
wait,
though.
igloo strat, you can.
There's no
instantly
igloos
cure a
though. There's no
villager.
igloos. There's no igloos. Pretty sure.
There are
I haven't seen
igloos.
it. There is? I haven't
I
seen
have
one.
seen plenty of igloos. I've had weakness potion games like.
Oh
3 times.
shit! Really? Okay, wait. The fuck?
Yeah.
What are we doing
So
then?
Arctic team, we go for igloos.
Yeah,
we just
yeah.
Cure a villager, and then we can get any trade.
Should we?
Actually, that could be a because we do get 2 villagers in there, right? So we cure 1 villager, and the other villager we turn into Fletcher that we can get at least like a couple emeralds, and then we get like 1 emerald trades for any book, right? So we can get 3 fire aspect books for 3 emeralds.
Holy shit! But that's how long do you think it'll take us though? Sure, that can't be a lot long, right?
Nah, not that long. It takes like since there are like iron bars near the villager, I think it takes like
Yeah.
what 3 minutes for curing.
Mm-hmm.
In that time, we can hopefully nobody kills the villager.
I'm just honestly, you know what I'm excited for? Private lobbies,
What's
private UHC lobbies,
Ooh.
because then we a lot of events on the server.
Yeah.
Be pretty fun.
I'm still hoping they make SG one day.
You're still on that grind, huh? I'm telling you,
Listen,
dude. You should
man,
apply for.
I'm a big fan of SG, bro.
Mm,
Yeah, I'm saying that SG that doesn't require stacking up. You just drop and get loot instantly. I think that'll be fire.
Yeah. See?
And also, regular regeneration. That's
yeah,
something
obviously.
good.
Well, that's SG. It's not UHC. It would be UHC SG.
I'm just saying, thinking like logistically here, right? I'm sure that there's a lot of people that have logged onto the server just to realize that they have to leave in like an hour or like maybe a half an hour, and they're like, "Shit, I don't know if I'm gonna get a game in that time," because it
That's-
happened to
yeah.
me.
If you do
So I'm
that, you're just a
thinking-
bitch. Let's be honest. Come on.
Well, they should just have
No,
like
dude.
faster UHC than
literally
like speed
happened-
UHC or something.
I feel like that's just Hunger Games with extra steps.
That's true. Yeah.
I think if they just made an SG game mode that works, I don't know. It does. I know that Speed Silver like is inspired off Hypixel, but they don't even have to do Blitz. They could just do any SG.
Mm.
Bro, anything that isn't UHC would be fun. I agree.
Yeah, I'm just thinking like SG is like similar to
Manhunts.
UHC, but like not really.
Mm.
Hold on, let me.
The walls. Oh my god, they should bring back the walls.
Oh, I remember the
Ooh.
walls. The walls is fire. Wait, Booster, how do you remember the walls? What? They weren't alive for that
How do I
those
know?
times.
Everybody. I mean, the walls.
Oh,
are
you weren't
still a
playing
thing
Minecraft.
In the. No, I've played the walls.
Really?
Or I've seen my brother play the walls.
Do they have
Uh-oh.
walls in Norway?
No.
We have
live
water
without
here in
walls.
America, I'll
In
tell you
the
that
cold.
much.
Yeah, we have no houses, no shelter in the cold, bro.
Just Americans
bury,
with like
we
a
bury ourselves in the snow like that one YouTuber does.
buff.
And we make shelters from the snow.
Damn
like
right.
That one YouTuber does.
Damn right, we got a wall. We have plenty of them too.
Yeah.
Oh no, no, no. Wait, Booster, do you have hobby?
Yes.
Hi, Bobby.
Okay,
I
but
have paper as well. I need leather.
I have 3 diamonds.
Oh shit!
I
Wait,
have
hold
no
on.
iron for myself.
Oh, no, I do have a. I
Iron
don't have
for
any
someone.
spare iron, but I do have iron.
You have books?
I have sugarcane. I'm trying to find cows, but I don't see any.
I have
cows.
4 leather, 4 leather. So we have 1 book for each. We can make sharp 3s and just go 0-0.
I
What's
don't
up
have
with you guys being
diamonds.
so far away from me? Y'all were like 800 blocks.
I'm at
I have
0-0.
no iron, no guys. I have no iron, no diamonds, bro.
I can give you iron. I can give you iron.
What
Ow.
about diamonds?
I have 1 diamond extra. I have 2 diamonds for
4
each chance.
diamonds, but
Oh, there
2
you
are
go.
going for the table.
Oh, wait. Then I have 2 diamonds for you, Booster. Can make a sharp 3 for you. You have gold, Booster?
No.
Hi, Ella. Hello. How are you, Ella? W stream. Thank you. Appreciate you. Chat, how's everyone's day today, by the way? Everyone eat already? Everyone ate food? Did you, like, eat something already? If you haven't, go eat
Don't
food,
worry,
please.
Booster.
Or
I'm
drink
on my
water.
way.
Thanks.
I do have 5 crying obby though.
Oh, nice, nice.
Yeah, so we can make 2 sides throughout the game.
You know... Oh, I just want diamonds. What the hell? You know what they should add? A Cooking
What's
Mama
up?
game.
A what?
A Cooking Mama game. You ever play Cooking
A
Mama?
MOBA?
No, Cookie
Oh,
Mama. Cookie Mama. You ever play Cookie Mama? Or no?
Is that like slang for something?
No, like Cookie Mama. Have you never heard of Cookie Mama?
Cookie
No.
Mama would be the worst slang word ever. What do you say?
It's like Cookie Mama, you know? Like,
I don't know.
like-
There's this.
Huh.
Hold on. Andre, so where the frick are you? I'm like on the surface and I don't see your name.
I'm Kieran, dead friend.
Yeah, I'm
coming
like.
up.
Oh, I'm like right above you, just
Yeah, yeah,
50 blocks up. Okay. I see.
Wait, you're 50 blocks up. What? I'll be up there in a
Yeah.
sec. Ew, COVID. What do you have, Booster? What do you have? What do you have?
Actually, wait, do I not sound like healthier now?
You sound a little healthy, but you just coughed in my ear, so I'm gonna assume that you're not healthy.
Like, a little better now. Way better.
Feel better, Booster.
Oh, Booster, yesterday we played a game, dude. Oh my god, dude, I wanted to cry after.
Okay.
Oh,
without you.
that game.
Dude, people were abusing was it scythe glitch? It was a scythe glitch yesterday.
What a side glitch.
It
You
was
can
all
use,
the above glitch.
yeah, you can use any extra ultimate and offhand the scythe, and like, so say someone was using a moin
So
or whatever
the
it's called.
ultimate would steal the potion.
Yes, dude. Yes. So like you'd get hit with like a Artemis bow, and it would steal your potion effects, and it was like doing 7 hearts a hit. It was actually
Yeah,
we actually could have won that
And
game.
there
I'm
was
not
like
lying.
no cooldown from stealing it as well.
No, there was a
Or
cooldown.
not.
It was like
But that's
7
broken
seconds
though.
though.
You can steal potions from any distance.
Yeah, they fixed it.
and
They
their
fixed
health
it. They
as
fixed it.
well.
They fixed it. It was
Oh
a
my
bug.
God.
It was a bug. It was a bug.
Hold on. Let me put down a.
You need a book?
Oh, thank you.
I am 300 blocks away.
Alright.
I do not feel confident about this at all, guys. About this game.
I
What?
believe in you, Booster.
Actually, I feel so confident in this game, bro.
There you go.
I can make anvil.
Sweet. I need shear some leaves for apples.
Bet. Bam.
Alright.
Bam. Booster, I will do anything in my power for you to come to VidCon next year, please.
Oh, you're gonna pay for my trip? Huge.
Yeah, I'll pay for your trip if you
Hotel?
come. Yeah, I'll pay.
Okay.
For, no, you can steal with me.
You'll pay for everything.
No, fine. Yeah. I'll pay. Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah, you'll pay
But
for
you're sleeping
everything.
with me though.
I'm warning you.
Yeah, but you're sleeping with
my
me
plane
though.
tickets cost like $500 or more.
You're what?
Plane tickets from Norway to US.
Oh yeah,
cost
it's
like $500.
it's light work.
That's like,
It's like one video.
hold on. That's like the ticket from Florida to California.
Wait, it's
Yo,
it's-
can I get some? Oh, actually, wait. Can I get my?
500 from Cali
Can I get a
to.
book as well? Can I
Yeah,
get
someone's
it's
coming. Here,
bad.
take. We're good.
That's not me! Oh, nice.
Okay, just I have 4 diamonds extra. Who needs some? Who wants
Yeah,
some?
I need.
Oh, here.
I need.
Wait, $400 for
Or-
$500 for a ticket to Cali to Florida is crazy.
Yeah. It's not fun.
Jesus Christ. Hi, Synoptics. Hi. How are you, Synoptics?
Oh, I got sharp on here, but I need A levels.
Hey, get one soon, Vio. Get one soon.
Dude,
Sorry, I'm
can I
just
get
reading
some
chat real
levels on me?
quick.
Can I
Okay,
get some
cool.
levels on me? Yo.
I don't have any level. I don't have any levels. I
I'm broke.
don't have levels. What do you even? I can anvil something.
I'm broke.
Listen this, please.
Oh, I need a. Oh yeah.
Hey, there's like a
Sharpness.
guy over
Boost for
there.
sharpness, right?
Yeah, sharpness on the book. Yeah.
Oh, I can't get sharpness on the book.
Oh fuck. Let
Uh,
Reddoons try.
What?
Try sharpness.
Try sharpness on the book.
I don't. I got efficiency, projectile, and power.
Hi, Nick Star.
Okay, give it back.
Wait, do you have like a string or something? Yo, Los, thanks for the follow, bro. Appreciate you.
Do we want to go after that guy over there?
Yeah,
Because
Loki.
war's
Wait,
not
also
good.
vote for me for King. Okay, yeah, we're good. Yeah, I don't think he knows what he's doing. Maybe.
Why don't we-
That guy's lost. That guy's lost.
Why don't y'all put up or pick
I
up
think
the?
he's trapping
table,
actually.
right?
Loki.
Yeah.
No,
No,
he's not trapping.
he's not trapping. He's just AFK.
My kill.
Fuck.
Never mind. Any XP bottles on there? Or
Nah.
sharpness book?
No. Wait, maybe. Power book.
I got a plus sharpness book.
I don't think bro knew what he was doing.
One of you guys got the E table, right?
No.
Yeah.
Wait, okay, Booster got it.
I got it.
Any string guys? Wait, he had a potion of
This guy
water
was
breathing.
King,
Wait,
by the way, I
what?
think this guy was king, by the way, because I got a.
That's I dropped it. I dropped it. You have any gold?
Yeah. Oh, it's yours.
I have 5 gold.
Wait,
Now
we
you
have
got a
no
whole
healing. I just
community
I just
tough, bro. What's up,
realized
Los? I
I have
do,
2
bro.
gets.
I've been grinding on YouTube, man. I've been grinding, bro.
that. With that.
Have you been Los?
Hold on, but do you have any spare gold or
Yo, Gassy,
Andres?
thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. I have 6 gold. You don't have 2 gold like my G.
Hold on. Here. If you have, here, take this. I got 5 gold.
I'm right behind you.
Oh,
Okay.
my bad.
You're good.
I can craft my light apples as well.
Okay, but I can also craft mine, but I mean, I have a G head for healing.
Yeah.
I think we just gotta pick people off right now, like find like little solos and try to kill them.
Yeah.
Cause yeah,
Have,
sharp 3.
have sharpness 3 though.
Okay. I mean, I can here. Booster, put the enchant table on. I can enchant boots for you real quick. So you can make them prot too. And then pass you the book.
Okay.
Try to get sharp now. Nope, it's only prot.
That's fine.
Fuck. Take these boots. Do you have any iron? I can enchant like leggings for you next.
Yeah. No.
Pass me?
I do not.
No, any iron? Anything like
I do not.
leather?
That's
Have any
fine,
leather?
I can get sharpness later. I just need more levels and more books. And I
Okay,
can
but
just, like,
Take the
re-enchant.
book for now then.
Wait. I have diamonds. I can make a diamond sword and enchant it.
Sure, if you want to do that. Want to waste diamonds on that.
Yeah, I do.
Shenshit, hello.
Can I get a level or two?
Shit, Shenshit, hello.
What
What do you need?
Oh, there's a team chasing after our teammates, guys. They're coming this way.
Here, Booster, take this. Lead them over here. Yeah. Yo, what's up, bro? Yo, what's good, bro? Yo, hey. Wait, what do I sound like? What do I sound like?
Oh wait. Oh
wait.
wait.
sound like
They got
too much
they
like
got other
Andres.
guys coming in.
Who the fuck is
Sound too much like-
Andres? That guy's irrelevant, bro.
You don't even
Who
know.
even is that?
Oh yeah, you're definitely. Nope. Yep.
What?
Good
What do you mean, nope,
God.
yep? What do you mean, nope, yep? I'm not Andres, bro. Nah,
I
bro.
love this game, bro. I love this game.
Bro, what do you mean? I'm Qndres' friend, bro.
I love this
Booster, you know what? Yesterday I was playing a solo, and some guy was like, "Wait a second, are you the guy from Qndres videos?" I'm like, "Bruh." Like, not even Andres. He just said, "You're the guy from Qndres videos." Like, what the fuck?
I mean, they're not wrong. Ooh.
Oh fuck. Nice, get him.
right?
Get gaps
Oh,
now.
he sucked.
I got three.
I have 8
diamonds.
parrotfish. You can make parrotfish,
I got
Kenan.
3 diamonds. Yeah, I got
I
3
have a
diamonds.
prop 4 book.
Yo, give me pufferfish. Give me pufferfish. Give me
Here, take,
pufferfish.
take, take,
Actually,
take.
Wait, do you have gunpowder?
No, I don't.
Okay, I'll pick up
Wait,
gunpowder.
dude had a prop 4 book. Hello? I think we just get in.
3 diamonds as well. Yeah, I don't know why they didn't enchant.
I'm going down there, Reddoons.
By the way, one of our teammates has an unenchanted diamond chest. We should try to ask him for it. One of our teammates is also chasing a guy in a boat.
Nice.
Were they trapping? No, they weren't trapping. Okay.
Yo, there's
Yo,
signs up here.
yo, FRNX. Can I get that chest plate, bro? I can make it prop 4 if you give it to me. If you don't mind, I can.
The enchant table. Bros.
Yeah. Wait, come up.
Okay, I come.
Can I trade you my boots for your chest plate? Because I have a prop 4 book. I'll trade you. Can I have your chest plate? Trade?
What?
Can I have your chest plate? Wait, what language do you speak?
Turkish.
Oh, fuck. Your chest plate. Can I have your chest plate? Hold on one sec. Can I have your chest plate in Turkish? Google
Just Google.
Translate.
You say give my chest plate?
Yo,
Yes. Your chest plate you have on right now.
Why-
Your like
I
this
do
one.
not.
Yours.
Okay.
Yes.
Humble?
Here.
Do you have TNT though?
Take my boots. Can I have your boots?
Thanks.
No way, you're stealing
Okay.
everything from that
No,
guy, bro.
I'm not
That's
stealing, bro.
crazy,
No. He's my Turkish friend, bro. He's my Turkish friend.
Nah, you're scamming him.
What do you mean, bro? Bro, do you feel scammed, bro? I didn't scam you, did I?
He's not gonna
You did.
understand.
Yeah, I don't even know.
I
If you,
gotta understand.
if you could understand me asking for a chest plate, I don't think you
can
can understand me.
Yeah, exactly.
Wait, put anvil down,
we're
Boosfer.
gonna look for kills. Huh?
Put anvil down.
Anvil?
Yeah.
I'm gonna put down the enchant table for him as well.
Hold on.
Because he asked for it.
Those copper over here.
I felt. Nah. Dude, it's the same armor. Come on. Okay, you pick it up, Booster.
Lapis.
Wait.
He says he needs a diamond sword.
Wait, I don't have diamond sword.
Yeah, me either.
I drop it.
Oh, diamond here. Here you go.
Oh, thanks.
No problem. All right, let's go to 0-0.
This is where we need the mod that the QSMP uses.
I know, for real, dude.
Just waiting for the E table.
Wait, Loki? That should be fire. Hi, Uzume.
Okay, didn't enchant.
And I don't know how to turn them off. There should be like a little setting in the bottom that says turn off subtitles. Also, what's up,
I
Jack?
just heard him speak Turkish.
How are you, Jack? Yo,
Gotta love
Los, I've
being
been
a
seeing your
lunar
streams, bro.
client, you
I've been like
Thanks, game.
low-key lurking your streams, bro.
You can't hear anything.
Keep it up, bro. Keep it up.
I can't. I don't have procs.
Oh, you don't have
They're
procs.
working on that though.
Working on what?
Yeah,
This
they're
guy's
working
talking
on
to a
that.
friend.
But
I
it's
can
like,
see him. I can hear him hot micing his friend through the phone or something.
Wait, what are they working on, Booster?
they're adding
They're
procs to Lunar.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they want to add.
Oh,
props.
Yeah.
wait, they already have. Have you not? I can show you actually after the stream if you want. There's a branch
sure.
you can do. Got you. Bro, where's everyone at, bruh?
I don't know. I'm like looking around. I'm not seeing anything.
I'm just scared of coming across sharp 30 katanas because.
Oh, no, we're good. Nah, we're fine. We'll kill him.
Somebody definitely has the Mjolnir as well because the lodestone was taken.
Oh, it was lodestone. Fuck. It's time we drop him.
But there was magma cream left in the chest, so I don't know.
Oh wait, I have 12 gold. If anyone has apples for me, I can low-key make healing.
Oh, I got one app.
I'll take that.
Here. Sadly, I only have one gap at the moment.
One gap. Okay, I have one gap, one G head.
Yeah, hold on. Maybe I can get some of these sleeves over here.
I think he's asking for.
All right, bro's asking for everything now.
Oh, person, come to me.
Coming.
Oh, I see the left.
Someone chopping down wood. Am I tripping? I see that.
Is this
I have no
Yeah, that
bow.
was
I mean,
our
I have
guy.
arrows. Okay.
This guy trapper or no? He's part of a bigger team.
Song's good. Loki, he might be just leading us with trap, maybe. Can you bow him? They don't have arrows.
Why did he go on top?
Oh my god, he's building up.
What's he doing up there?
Knock him off. Nice.
What's man doing?
He's on 26. He had a head. A G head probably. A G head. G head.
Okay, well.
He's trapping. He's trapping. He's trapping. He's trapping. He's trapping. 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 Careful. 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 I'm going. Oh, well, he just missed his whole trap.
I want to
No.
place blocks behind him. One
Trap.
second.
Trap.
Go in
Trap.
there.
A trap. Chambers got
That
trapped.
is our teammate.
Chambers dead. Well, I'm digging straight down.
Did he fall for his trap? Oh,
Yeah, our
he's
team is
still
dead.
No,
Wait.
he's still alive down there. He's at the bottom.
Yeah, there's
Or-
more people here, by the way. So.
Nice.
Got him.
Oh, you got both?
I got one of them. Is that you guys laying down on me? It is.
Yeah.
I'm just picking up all the stuff.
Ow.
There's an unenchanted book there. Just unenchanted book.
Is there, if
Oh
there's
my god,
gunpowder,
so
let
much
me know.
gold.
Oh, did you get the gold?
Yeah, I
I
got the
found a
gold.
sharp
Let me
2
know.
sword.
Is there gunpowder?
No,
Oh, it's a sharp 2
I have
sword?
one gunpowder.
Give me the gunpowder. Place the gunpowder somewhere in the chest.
I put it in this one here. The one, the far left one.
Okay. Yeah, I see. Just enchanted book that says nothing.
I know, it's
What is
weird, right?
that?
I don't know. I just unenchanted book. What if it's like a fire aspect book? We don't
Wait,
know.
there's a saddle. Yo, let me get that actually. What the hell?
I have 53 gold, by the way. Yeah, I got.
Low key, guys. They should add like a custom trident and add the hardened seed to the crafting recipe.
Ooh.
Ooh. That'd be interesting.
Or
An elytra.
no, not an elytra.
Oh.
A special armor piece, like maybe boots for better swimming, like
Ooh.
or something.
Dude, I'm actually fire. Like Death Strike 3 boots or something with like. Ooh,
Yeah,
they're
but not
fire.
something that's super OP, but something that would definitely benefit from water. Like,
Yeah, because some people like swim in water and just get away like that. And it's actually annoying.
Yeah, exactly. Like you get Depth Strider like 1 or 2, let's say, and then you get like resistance in water or something.
Yeah.
Something that would
Hold on.
basically
Andres, do you have any
Yeah.
spare
swim
gas?
in water.
I can give you gold. We can shear shoes real quick. Wait, Booster, do you have
Sure.
iron? You take your tech half my gold.
Yes, I do.
Thank you, thank you.
Why?
Pass me iron, Booster.
Why?
I need to get apples. Thank you.
I got 6 diamonds. I want 2 more for.
My
chest
stream
plate.
chat over here on the side.
Actually, wait. I'm gonna make boots.
Hold on, Booster. Did you have a sharp 2 or sharp 3?
I have sharp 3.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I picked up a sharp 2 sword down there.
Wait. If yo, test this on them. You can maybe add this. And then
Oh, you're
assuming
right.
It's not gonna work.
Um,
I'm just gonna assume that they already did that on the sword, so it's not
oh,
gonna
my
work.
bad. Wait, no, it's a sharp 1. I'm an
Oh,
idiot.
that's fine. That's fine.
It's weird how.
Actually, if we have a E-table somewhere, I could probably see if I can enchant a book or 2.
I wonder what that book was, by the way. Unenchanted book?
Yeah, just an unenchanted book. I don't think it was anything.
Maybe it's
was
just
just
a glitch? Iron Hoe is faster, you get more
Oh,
apples.
sharp. Did you have an anvil?
Yeah, I do. Will you have enough levels? That's the question.
Ooh,
bad.
ooh, it's gonna be close.
I have 8.
Check.
Uh,
I think you will need 8.
okay, I got 2 sharp 3s.
Oh, well, I'll take one.
Yeah, see what combined.
I think it's 12 levels for sharp 4.
Oh, it's 8. It's 8.
Yeah, it's 8.
For sharp 4?
Yeah.
You want it?
Sure.
Yeah, I can do it for you.
Video
Then.
levels.
Yeah, I have 8 levels.
All right, sweet. Here.
Go command it real quick for you. Here you go.
Thank you.
Yep.
Hype. All right, sweet.
0, 0,
I'm not
10.
gonna single kill. I feel like I'm gonna be doomed to be at 99 kills forever.
I'm at 0 kills as well, bro.
I'm at 4 kills. Wait, how do I have 4 kills? The fuck?
You stole one of mine, you bitch.
What do
You
you
stole one of
mean? You
mine,
jumped on
too.
me? Oh, okay, I'm just a bad guy. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
bitch.
you're evil.
I punched the guy down for you as well. Like, that guy
Yeah,
was
but
my
then he
kill,
punched
dude.
me inside the trap and I almost died. I took like a whole row of hearts because of that.
That was you who fell down there?
Yes, that was also me.
You dumbass.
Because you punched him. You
Holy.
punched the guy toward me, and his
I'll
team was
keep
down
right-
there. Yep, see that? It's one
They're
guy.
going
Looks like.
towards portal, I think.
Nice.
I hope not.
Ooh.
Looks like
You
they're
can
going
get a
towards
horse.
portal.
Oh, Don't go in portal. Don't go
Okay,
inside.
now they
Don't go
go
inside.
past. They may cross over the
Don't
water.
be too confident though, boys. We're not super stacked.
Yeah, I mean I have a prop for a chest plate, but you know.
I think we're
Yeah, but-
relatively stacked though.
Yeah, we're pretty good stacked. We're like decently stacked. I don't think this guy knows what he's doing. I'll be honest.
Definitely does not.
Maybe he's trapping. Be careful, guys.
No,
Actually
there's
does
no
look
way.
like he's
Actually,
trapping, I don't
maybe
know.
yeah.
He looks a bit
Koalimos.
too stupid. Yeah.
Why is
And the
trapping
fact
like, so
that
popular on
he
the
hasn't
server, man?
hold on.
Holy.
Let's see how he reacts. Okay.
Yeah, he's dodging arrows.
Yeah.
I don't know. Shot him once. No, 42. I don't know. He's just running now.
A bit suspicious.
Should be leading us to the portal, trying to bed bomb us, maybe.
Yeah, but it's just not gonna be fast enough. Takes like
Yeah.
4 seconds to go to the portal.
How long does it take to TP into the portal? Anyone know?
You just said like 4 seconds.
Oh, like 4 seconds.
Okay. He's at 38.
Wait, it's like literally what he's doing.
Yeah.
Break the portal. Break the portal.
He went in. Fuck.
Oh
He went in
God,
once. He literally went in as soon as I
Andre,
broke it, dude.
You missed it 3 times.
Stop,
bro.
stop. All right, we're not going in there. He's definitely bed bombing. Our team is going in.
Oh.
Oh my god. Okay, we got. I just drank water.
Wait,
Water breathing.
Guys.
Huh?
I just heard somebody shush underground here. And that's
Wait.
not our teammate because he's deafened. Yep, people underground.
Wait. Yo, we heard you, bro.
Oh, wait, hold on. I see the stuff down here.
Be
They killed someone
be
down there.
careful.
Oh,
There's
maybe
a big
trap.
hole
We're
by
saying
me.
shh, 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 shh.
Yeah.
Could be multiple people. Be careful.
Should I go down and check?
Yeah. I'm,
Wait, yeah, hear him, hear him.
half naked right now.
He's-
Totally don't have a trap.
They are not half naked.
Yeah, they're trapping. They're trapping. They're trapping. They're trapping.
Somebody came through the. Oh,
Oh yeah.
never mind. It just lit it up.
Yeah, they
Hey, look,
unshifted.
look, guys, get the trap
Okay,
right
so they're
there.
running around down there.
They're trapping. They're trapping.
Oh wow, there's
Yeah,
3 of
we're
them down there. Wow.
It's
Yeah, Are
Azure.
we going in there or no?
No. They're trapping. They're trapping.
Okay.
Come down here, little bro.
It's a grass team.
Oh my god, of course they're British, bro. What's happening?
Come down, little bro.
Down.
Okay, a team behind us. Team behind us. Team behind us. Team behind us.
Oh, shoot, two
Okay.
of our
Yeah, we
teammates.
can take those
Gotta go,
guys.
gotta go,
Two
gotta
of
go.
our
One of them has
teammates.
what, an iron sword?
Wait, 2 of their teammates. Wait, they're coming up, guys. Guys, they're coming up.
Hold on. Chasing one guy.
Hold on.
Got him.
Oh wait. Oh wow, they got fire aspect, huh?
You guys good?
Wait, hold on. Wait. Oh wait.
think,
Oh,
I
I'm
think,
getting
uh,
jumped.
Reduce
Oh, I'm
is
gonna
here.
die. What?
Yeah,
Oh, I just got cleaned.
I see that.
Reddoons just fucking died, bro.
Wow.
Oh, they
Yo,
do
yo,
have
yo,
fire.
yo, yo, yo.
Yeah, like 2 or 3 of them have it.
Got this. I got this. I got this. Oh my god. Okay, we're good. Yo, thanks for the follow. Appreciate it.
Oh, my water glitched. Great stuff. An
Oh,
NPC
did you
killed
also
me?
get catched by the fire aspect?
No, an NPC killed me because my water glitched
this is
for some
bad.
reason. I don't know why.
Yeah, they all have fire aspects. I think they
Yeah.
At least 2 of them do. Yeah.
they definitely
got
rushed
maybe 3.
the book, the Grimoire book.
And they put it on iron swords. How disgusting is that?
Wait, but you think they rushed multiple Grimoire books?
Yeah, yeah. It's just yeah.
Dang.
I would.
But yeah, they are complete dog shit.
I'm just
though.
gonna get to the.
Although,
Wait, make a boat.
I do think I gotta go for like about an hour. I was gonna
Okay.
ask, do one of y'all want to join me and Vortex? Apparently, Vortex wants to see Hoplite for the first time. He has not checked it out yet. So he wants
yeah.
to run civs.
When?
5 Eastern, so like an hour from now.
I don't know.
Alright, well, I'll just message. I'll talk to you a bit later.
Uh,
Go.
Bye-bye.
But
Peace.
Don't knock him into the border. Don't knock him into the border.
true. Don't lock me to the border.
Oh no, he's gonna get my phone.
Kenzel's right there.
What are you doing?
Dude. I'm getting 4v1, bro.
Come on, you got this. We have Emerald Sword. Oh my god, they're actually insane at the game, bro. Oh my god. He just joined your boat! That is so... Oh my god, wait, you kidnapped the dude? Oh, he picked up your boat. No, your boat dropped like... Oh, his teammate is coming in as well with a boat. Wait, you're gonna go down? Okay.
This guy's such a dickhead, bro.
What the fuck? You just called me a dickhead.
5-year-old just called you a dickhead, Andres. You should be butthurt, bro. What is happening here?
I know. Should I cry? Dude, how? What? Someone just died. Wait, what one that just died? Made a gap. Okay, can't pick it up.
Oh, that is
That's the border.
okay, who are we getting as our replacement third then?
I can ask right now.
Maybe Fruitberries is online.
Maybe. Holy shit, dude. Holy shit. Who died? Okay, one of them died. Okay, that's good. He was slain by... Who was he slain by? Master JJQ. Timo 2. Damn, I see the board already. Fuck.
We did not have stuff that game, by the way. Holy.
Yeah. Loki, could go nether. Respawn someone. Probably respawn you now.
Is there even a point in respawning me? Like, I won't get stuff or anything.
No,
I will
but
just probably die from the fire aspect.
it's fine. It's fine. It's Azuf. The
You could maybe
1v4.
respawn me. You could maybe respawn me if you like find a loot pile, but otherwise I don't. think
Yeah.
there's
Because I just literally all I gotta do is just let grass team and then the Taiga team
Yeah,
fight.
because this is not a skilled lobby. Like the
No.
people that had no idea what they were doing.
Yeah, no,
So you just need to wait for them to fight each other. Unless that other team that we haven't come across yet is good. Like if Mushroom team is really good and stacked, then it's just GG's.
okay. Got this. It's a Da Vinci. I still want to get Dev on, bro. Like, Dev needs to play. Dev needs to play.
I think Dev is too addicted to
To Fortnite?
right now. Yeah, that man.
Chat, you guys know Dev has a crazy addiction to Fortnite right now?
Yeah, he needs help, man.
I don't know why I'm not mining like this, low key.
I don't know either, man.
You're so skibbity toilet. Okay. All right. Azuf. One of the moderators on the server. You know, he gave me game mode C yesterday.
What is that?
Game mode creative. You gave me game mode
Nobody
creative.
says game mode C, bro.
I do. The fuck?
Are you weird?
You probably don't remember when Minecraft. I just found diamonds. What?
Let's go, dude.
Hell yeah, man. And I'm not even full yet.
Game mode C. I'm
Chat.
sorry, dude.
Anyone saying game mode C in chat? In chat? I mean,
No,
what?
nobody
Yeah,
says
bro.
game mode.
So many people say game mode C. Like what?
Stop coughing on us.
Okay. Okay. That's not even a cough, bro. Okay. GMC. No, we do /GMC. What do you do, Booster?
I just do F3, F4, bro.
Yeah, you're fucking weird, buddy.
Like a
Yeah,
normal person. It's 10
What?
million times faster.
no, that's actually not
Oh, wait,
normal.
you type out /game mode creative? Oh
Yeah.
my god. You're so nostalgic. You're so cool. You're so
Wait, really?
old.
Fuck you, bitch.
What?
Anyways, this
How the fuck do you dare to say that to
Look,
me?
Theo.
I made you, bro.
Okay, fuck you, asshole. I know that you did. Fuck you. Chat, you guys know? Chat, you guys know? Boosfer made me poor. I was really poor, chat. And then I met Boosfer, and he like gave me $1 million.
Nah, he
No
was
troll.
rich, bro. That man was loaded. You know, he told you guys he
Okay,
worked
alright.
9 to 5, but he was
I
actually
did.
doing drop shipping.
Okay, I was not, dude. What's with everyone
was
calling me a
earning, like,
drop shipper,
50K a
bro?
month,
Dude.
and he gave it up for you guys. He gave up the rich lifestyle
Dude,
for you guys.
you know what's
All
funny?
For bringing the content to you guys.
You know what's funny? AJ thought I was a drop shipper when he first met. He was like, "Wait, are you not a drop shipper?" I'm like, "Bruh, fuck do you
Dude,
mean I'm not a
dropshipping-
trip shipper?"
Dropshipping slowly became a pyramid scheme.
Okay, what?
Like, it just doesn't work anymore. There's just so much competition, and everybody says, "Yo, you should dropship this, dropship that." You know, it's like, I don't know, man.
Boosfer makes Andres big and greedy. True.
No.
Oh, I see a
opposite,
person here.
bro. I told him to pursue.
Wait,
his
watch this,
passion
Boosfer.
instead of
Watch this.
the- Clear comms. Yeah, I'm watching.
Got Thor's hammer.
Oh, that's the guy that he probably has a lot of heals.
What's he on? Keep me on health. Get a jihad.
He's on 24, 25, 26, 27.
Get a jihad.
He's on 27. 25, actually.
I'm only dropping him in a cave.
He has a lot of healing.
Yeah.
You know what you should have been doing?
Going nether.
No, you should have been like been running around with unenchanted iron armor and then
Wait, Loki, you're cooking. Why am I hearing Discord things, bro?
and switch your armor to diamond. He is not going down.
He's not chasing me? Fuck. Okay. Well, I need to go nether then. I'm just gonna go nether.
Teammates. He does have. Oh no, he doesn't have teammates. He's in nether.
Oh, he does.
No, he doesn't.
Wait. You know he doesn't. You're right. Fuck.
He's solo, but he does have all the healing. So.
Well, yeah. I need to get a gap real quick. Another. Another minor kit. So. Yeah. I'm sorry, chat. I'll beat them after. I don't know why they're on. I thought disabled sheer. I thought enabled sheer mode.
Can we have a Andre's cough count? He's been coughing a lot.
I've literally not coughed once. What are you talking about?
Okay, stop coughing, Andres.
Which I know you like to cough. You like to fake cough, fake sick as well.
Okay, you know what else I like to do?
You want me to say it? I'm not gonna say it. I'm not gonna say it. Words that I say. You like to fake fart as well. It's crazy. Okay.
That is not fake, bro. I just
Alright.
sharded my pants, dude. Oh, deathmatch is in a second? Are
Yeah.
you gonna revive me during deathmatch?
No, I can't. I have no head.
Whoa. That is a serious issue. You might wanna get that checked out, actually.
Yeah, I don't have any head. Yep. Oh fuck. Okay. Fuck. Okay, this could be bad. I hope the Tiger team is really stacked and like about to kill me or something. Okay.
Yo, I got 5 aspect 2 shots.
Oh fuck. Yo, I'm not gonna lie, boys. You guys gotta fight that grass team, bruh.
Some of them
Good
might
luck.
be looking at you.
Don't go for me though. I'm saying like I'm not gonna help you guys out, but I'm gonna like
One of
you know.
them is looking at you.
Just play it smart. Play it smart, boys. Play it smart.
One of them has a katana.
Sounds like a
Wait,
katana.
no. An ender ball? I'm confused. Somebody teleported to middle.
Oh, he's got
What is that?
Yeah, that guy.
Oh fuck. Yo, why am I getting chased, bruh?
They have buff-
Yo, why are you chasing me, little bro?
You know, talking like that makes enemies for you, right?
Yeah, I know. That's why.
Oh,
You dropped one.
solo guy's getting. Yeah,
Damn, you
solo
just-
guy's getting dropped.
You just got dropped, bro. Your team is getting dropped.
Nah, bro. It was just him. It was low as fuck. Bro, kill this.
Damn, bro.
You take no damage, bro. That's crazy.
What's up?
Keep chasing me. Keep chasing me. Come on. Come on. Come on.
Claus is on 23.
Joker
by the way,
underscore
so if
he's
he doesn't
just
get any
subscribed.
assistance, which he is
Hello,
getting here-
happy
Bro,
6
someone's got
months.
solid crossbow, you.
Wait. You can turn. You can turn. You can turn. You can. No, you cannot turn. There's a diamond guy like following him.
I'm sorry for my teammate, by the way. He has no brain.
Yeah, I can tell. He's just going after me. I don't think you guys go after me either, but I mean,
I'm not trying to go after you. I'm just.
I think he knows it's. I think he might know it's me. I'm not too sure.
Yo, get him.
Yeah, get me.
Get him,
Get
too.
his.
Yeah, I have him on. Yeah.
I told him to leave you, by the way.
Hi,
He's not
Joker.
listening.
Yo, Andres, that guy does so much damage.
The guy behind me?
Wait, you got ahead.
There's a guy with
There's
solid
on a crossbow
crossbow.
guy over there. He's on that.
Got 4 heads.
Phoenix.
I got sharp 3 now.
Yeah, let's all like focus up, guys. Come
Oh
on.
my god, the Midas guy has sharp 3.
Oh, chill.
Be careful, dude. He has sharp
Oh, you're
3.
not.
That is crazy, dude.
Right, what's up, boy? I think you want this, boy.
This is the most like active voice chat game I've ever seen. Not in a good way though.
I need you to
Chat,
like
be
spectate
honest.
me.
Do I have a chat? Be honest. Do I have an adorable cough? Or is it scary? Like.
Oh, is that GG's? Okay, now I just need a target. Damn, I target the red team.
Fuck no, it's nasty. You guys are just lying to make me feel bad. You know it's an awesome cough. Why are you ill again? Why do you think I'm ill? What is this question, Jack? I'm ill because I caught. What?
18 gaps, 18 gaps, 18 gaps, 18 gaps, 18 gaps. So much gold. I can respawn you.
Huge.
I see redstone.
There is a redstone in the pile.
Yeah, I know. Pick up the stuff up when I respawn you.
I will.
Why can't I craft it? What do I need?
Diamonds as well.
I got you. There's stuff in here. Pick it up. Pick it everything up.
Yep. A guy in the house near you. He's the one of the dirt. It's Kalaz guy.
Fine.
Drop him.
I can drop you all if you need to.
See you.
Is that on me?
Nobody on you?
No one. Just pick the stuff up.
Okay, nice.
Diamond boot, sharp 3 diamond here. Take half my gaps. Holy shit.
Oh my god.
You have any? Oh, I mean, you just spawned. Why am I asking for apples?
I have
Team coming in.
confidence.
Team coming in. We gotta help. We gotta help the Clash guy out.
Hello?
Why is this guy going after me, bro? What does he want? What? Are we throwing the game on purpose or something?
Did you just hear? Oh, obviously.
No.
Run. I got what? Oh my
Oh,
god!
I see.
I think it's lagging. I think I'm dead here.
Oh, yeah, you died. Did you lag?
Died?
Yeah, you died.
Everything crashed for me. Like I thought the guy was hacking because he was treating me like I was
Dude.
taking the opposite direction.
Where is
Did I just
everyone
get kicked
at?
Because I get respawned? Like, is that just a glitch? There's no internet connect. Like I reconnect with the
Come on. I can't hear you. I'm starting.
That just makes no sense.
Dude. Holy shit, dude. Yikes. Yikes. All right, we gotta
Why
go
did I get
again.
kicked,
Yo,
by the way?
what's that guy's, like, what was that guy's issue? Clash, bro. The bro did not stop going for me. Yeah, he was targeting me. Like, he was getting crit out and just wanted me dead for some reason. GG's, chat. GG's. I'll try to get a third. I can try to get a third.
Yeah. By the way, is this a glitch that has happened to other people as well, where you get respawned and you just get kicked?
I don't know. I think you just lagged out.
Not have. No, I didn't have any. I've never lagged out like this before, and there's no internet issue whatsoever. Like I don't understand why I would get lagged out in that situation. The error message didn't even see that I lost connection or anything. They just said error or something.
Yeah.
Like, is that random error when something with the server crashes? Where, like, if you open.
I can report it to Inferno. Let me look for a
I wanna
third.
see if other people have had that before. I don't know if many people get respawned in deathmatch. That's the thing.
I'm asking anyone for third.
Are you asking the server or no?
Yeah, ask the server right now.
I see.
Chat, they don't know. I mean, chat doesn't know. Chat doesn't know. Chat doesn't know. Chat doesn't know.
It's a secret.
You in a
source.
HOPLITE VC? Yeah, I am, Jack.
Yeah, Jack, we're in a HOPLITE VC. Sorry, Jack.
Sorry, Jack. You can't join, Jack.
We're not in a Portal VC. We're in a HOPLITE
Yeah.
VC. Sorry,
Fuck
Jack.
Portal 2. Chat, can you get a fuck Portal 2 in chat?
When
that
is
game's
Jack gonna waste like
horrible.
1,000 hours in HOPLITE, dude? Like he did in PvP Legacy, just Axe Duels as well.
Yeah, Jack. Jack, if you spend 1,000 hours in HOPLITE, I'll play Portal 2 with you. What the fuck is wrong with Portal 2? Etho! Hi, Etho. Etho, what is wrong with Portal 2?
I
Okay.
thought you were about to tell Jack to eat those nuts. But
Okay. No, I'm not telling Jack to eat those.
But you said Etho.
No, EthoBot. You know EthoBot's amazing. I carry him in Overwatch though.
Sorry, I don't eat those nuts.
You know who EthoBot is?
No.
Let me tell you who EthoBot is. EthoBot is a Minecraft content creator that's like I'm gonna give you it's the whole life story. One sec. I'm looking for one person.
Damn.
Dev, get on. Oh my god, this Dev guy. This fucking dev guy, bro. How are you, Etho? How's everyone in chat doing, actually? That's what I should be asking. What about Rec Rap? Never mind sleeping.
What is the server? Is the server icon Kai left?
No, the server icon is Nightbot.
Nightbot.
Right before recording. Damn.
Oh yeah, there's Nightbot at this. Dude, I always get confused that there's a Nightbot streamer and then there's a Nightbot.
Yeah, well, it's both of them.
Yeah,
Hi,
I
Lucky. How are you, Lucky? Who else can I mean, I just asked in the Discord, but I don't think anyone's gonna respond.
You're getting egoed, bro.
Let me see. F list. There's mid.
I need.
You need what? Lucky Mix? No. It's someone else. Lucky Mix. No, it's not Lucky. I first, I'm not gonna lie, I actually thought it was Lucky Mix, but it wasn't Lucky Mix. Floativ's getting offline. Damn. Ethan, why don't you play HOPLITE, huh? Everyone's playing HOPLITE, bro. You gotta play. Yo, Panky! Thank you for the raid, Panky. Yo, Panky, come play with me and Boosfer. Yo. Welcome, Raiders. Hello, Raiders. Hello. Yo, Panky. What? What do you mean, oh, God?
Oh, God.
What?
Played his first games today.
Wait, you played your first HOPLITE games? Wait, /stats Panky. Is it Panky Live, right? Wait, it's Panky?
Yeah, has his
Oh.
account, so
Hi,
they
Lopez.
can't friend him. He's egoing us basically.
Friend, add Panky. I can't even.
Panky's
What?
egoing
I
us.
can't even add as a friend. That's crazy.
Yeah, he's egoing us. That's crazy.
It's actual L ego, bro.
Panky's new mustache changed him, dude. That's crazy.
I saw that mustache, bro. I saw that mustache. It's crazy.
It looks like it's drawn. Is it drawn on or is it?
Okay,
Like,
why are you roasting the guy?
I'm not roasting it. Like I'm genuinely asking. I couldn't tell because he was so far away from his camera.
Okay.
Were you able to tell?
Huh? Yeah, it
Was it
was.
drawn on or was it real?
It was. It's fake. It's fake. Like just like your. Never mind. Anyways,
What are you about to say? No.
nothing. No, nothing. Wait, Lopez is your guy, right? He's your
replay shot guy.
reaper shot guy, yeah. Hi, Lopez. Don't worry, I'm the Qndres guy. I'm the Kira Dev guy. Yo, what the fuck? Yo, Lucky, let's gift a tier 2. Thank you so much for the tier 2 sub. But what the fuck? Oh my god. Hi, I'm a silly boy from Pang Live's chart. Hi, Andrew. Gur bad. Okay. All right. I'm getting called bad already by Panky's chat. W. Thanks for all the follow, guys.
Pangolin is not in your chat. You're safe.
Oh, Pangolin should be here soon.
Pangolin should be banned from everybody's chat.
Man, I just want one person to team with, man. Thanks for all the follows, guys. Appreciate it. Chat. What's up? Hi, Pangy. Oh, he's here. He can hear you now. I think he had an ad.
Oh shit! No, please, Pangy, no.
Pangy, did you win your games today? Did you win your Civ Royale games? You should come play with me and Boosfer. I did not. Wait, have you played yet? Have you played the server? I got second though. Have you played teams games though? Have you played teams? You should play with me and Boosfer because we're looking for a third.
You would not have gotten second in solos, bro. That guy got clearly. I mean.
Okay, that's fucked.
Who said that, yo?
All right, just roasting the guy. Like, what's wrong with you? Why are you roasting my boy Panky?
Sorry.
You know Panky's like 6'5", and you're small, buddy.
6'5"?
Yeah, Panky's fucking tall.
6'5" my ass.
Okay. Why are you roasting him?
Is 5'3" at max.
No, bro's like 6'5", 6'4" actually. He's taller
I
than
would
me.
believe that because the Netherlands have a pretty high average in height.
Yeah, Netherlands are like all tall.
Okay, not all of them. Even if you were born in the Netherlands, you would still be short, just like you are now. Did you hear what I just said?
Yes, I heard what you said, bro. Why are you yelling at me, bro?
Yeah.
Wait, we continue with the Spanish content creator. Thoughts?
Who?
His name is Hazvik. Have you heard of Hazvik?
No, the only Spanish creators I've heard of are Codified and Shadoon 666.
Well, he actually knows who Shadoon is.
Let's go.
Yeah, he's playing solos though. Chat, who do I invite? Someone give me like someone's name, and I'll try to invite them.
Invite a Spanish person, so I don't understand what you guys are saying.
Ooh, chat, I can speak Spanish to a person. And Boosfer?
Actually, did you know that I speak like partially fluently?
No, you
Spanish?
don't, bro.
Okay.
Motherfucker, the last time you wait.
¿Qué pasa? Yeah, that's what I thought.
I know what I can ask. I know exactly what I can ask.
Okay.
See. Clown? Is Clown on?
Doesn't Clown play exclusively with Fairy though?
With who?
Fairy MC.
Exclusive. Okay, exclusively is crazy.
Yeah, they're exclusive, bro. It's crazy. Monogamous gamers. It's crazy. Didn't know
Booster,
that was a thing, but
I'm exclusive to you only, Boosfer. Where's Red? He had to leave. He's gonna be back in an hour. Who else? Who else can you play with, chat? I mean, we can play a team of two. It's me and you.
so I could ask some a very unskilled player. I don't even know if they're online right now.
Okay, who are you gonna? Is it? Yes, AJ. You're gonna ask AJ?
No, it's Caboodle. I know she wants to play, but
At them.
he's very bad at Minecraft.
It's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
We would not
It's-
win.
Okay, it does, dude. Why are you like that? Like what?
We would lose
Boosfer.
badly.
Boosfer. I'm fucking teaming with you. What do you think, huh? You think I'm gonna win every game? Fuck exactly, buddy.
Okay, I'm asking. Nah, if you want to lose, you want to lose. Okay, let's lose. It's time to lose.
Dude. That's crazy.
Can I have the chest plate, please? You stole the chest plate from our
Dude,
carry, bro. That's why
Dude,
we lost.
what do you mean, bro? The
What do
dude
you
does
mean?
not.
You should've
He
given him
died
the
to a
prop
trap
four.
after we literally set up those. Okay.
You pushed him into the trap.
I
You
didn't
warn
push
him,
it.
bro.
No.
It was your Turkish friend, bro. I thought you
Okay.
knew how to speak
Yes,
Turkish.
I can't speak Turkish, bro. I can only
You
speak
literally did, though.
Spanish and
You
English.
communicated with him.
No, I didn't, bro. I just said,
Oh,
"Can I
you're
have the
only
thing on your chest?"
bilingual?
And he's like, "Yeah,
Aw,
sure."
I'm so sorry. Sorry to hear that.
Okay, I'm sorry that you can speak Romanian, Norwegian,
condolences, bro.
and freaking
condolences,
English.
bro.
Well, you can barely even speak
My
English. You
condolences.
fucking suck at it, buddy.
I can't. Like, what is Romanian, bro? Are you stupid?
Sorry, Lithuanian. My fault.
Bro. I could say something really bad, but I'm not gonna say it.
Come on, say it, bitch.
Well, Kabul's not available. She's playing League. So, we block her. What's next?
Okay. I mean, I could block you a long time ago for you playing League, but we're not gonna talk about that.
Yeah, but she's playing League on Australian servers.
Oh yeah, that's I don't know about that one. Never mind. Yikes, you know.
Yep.
Bye. Peace out, guy cap. Chat. Who do I invite? Give me another name that's not Clown Pierce, because Clown Pierce might be busy. Maybe Foray. Wait, is he even on? He might be on F list. Foray is not on. Ain't no way Kier's available? No, Kier's probably one, editing, or two, he's outside. Wait, Booster, didn't you have a freaking orthodontist appointment today?
Chiropractor, yeah.
Dev sleeping
What?
is a little AU sleep schedule. Actually,
AU?
Oh.
No, it's NA.
what else? 5 up.
5 up? I think he's streaming League right now.
Oh.
Yeah. League and drawing.
Oh, he's also never played server, so he probably be like really lost what to do.
Yeah, I don't think he would want to play Minecraft.
No, I think Ann was explaining to him last time. Honestly, you're going, Jack, we're not gonna play with you, Jack. You suck.
Oh, Paxil's online, yo.
Apaxio.
Paxil's online. We could actually have a chance at winning.
True. Boosfer and I. You know, I gotta include your name because sometimes I feel like they just ego me. Yo. Just kidding. You know, Paxton's not an ego. I'm crazy.
No way you're using my name to get people
Yep.
to play with you.
Yep. And guess what? I also
Guys,
use your
see? He just
Jack.
uses
Guess
me
what,
for
chap?
clout.
I also use Boosfer for everything. Yep. Wait,
Dude,
Boosfer.
he
Remember
used me in a thumbnail where
Yep.
for a video that I wasn't even a part of, bro.
Yep. I did, chat. I use Boosfer for clicks. Thoughts?
That's crazy, dude.
What are you gonna do? Copyright strike me, buddy?
Did it work though? Did it
No,
work?
it didn't work. It actually did fucking horrible. I'm not gonna lie.
Exactly.
It did fucking
Exactly,
worse.
bro. I'm fucking irrelevant now. We have
Yeah.
to get back on the YouTube grind.
Yeah,
Don't
I'm
worry.
full.
Yo, play the audio of my trailer for your stream just to troll.
Wait, Chad, you guys want? Yeah, actually, hold on. Wait, guys, you guys want to hear?
Don't
okay,
show what
okay,
it is,
okay,
don't
okay.
show what it is.
Fine.
play
Do you guys want to see Boost? Not see.
They're gonna be confused, bro.
Chat. Do you guys gonna? Okay, fine. Boost said I'm allowed to do it, but here you guys go.
Don't show it though.
I know. I'm not showing it, bro.
I see trees of
That's all you guys can hear. That's all you guys can hear. Just know it's gonna be fire. It's gonna be fire. It's gonna be fire. My ears. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I just bursted everyone's ears.
Oh, that must be so confusing, bro. They didn't even like notice the sound effects either. You know, it's kind of crazy.
I know. They can't even see anything.
Yeah, they didn't even notice the growl or anything. You know, it's kind of crazy. I mean, whoa, who said that? Where's our third, bro?
I don't know. I need a third though. I want a third. One, I'm too afraid to ask. That's already one. Wait, surely you have friends? No?
Why is Venus on the server in front of me?
It's Venu, buddy.
This loser.
What's wrong with you?
No, Venus isn't a planet, dude.
What? Wait.
Did you just called you a bot, by the way?
I know. Call him an NPC, bro. Call him a little NPC.
I'm gonna tell him that you love him.
Hey, don't tell him that. I don't actually like him. Yo, that's crazy. Also, thank you, Lucky, for the gift sub to Luck Pangy Live. Appreciate you. Yo, Lucky, you're crazy. I think you're gifting a tier 2 sub as well, by the way, earlier. What the fuck? I want to get a screeny. All right, Booster's dead.
What?
Spam call dev. Wake his ass up. I mean, the funny thing is, I'll actually do it, but no.
He's not gonna want to play anyway.
He's not. Yeah, he's not gonna want to play. He'll be like, "What do you want?" Hello? No, first of all, he'll be like, "Hello."
Hello, is AG not on?
AJ's not on now.
Loser, bro.
Stop having an ego, Epaxial. Play with us. Okay, Pax is running out of the lobby. I'm literally doing the same thing.
He said he's full. He's probably a 3-stack already.
Don't worry. I'm going through the lobby, inviting, trying to see if anyone wants to join. Oh, I see this guy named Boosfer. Yo. Oh, I got a DM. Oh my god. No, I did not get a DM.
No.
Wait, I need to turn on streamer mode. I'm sorry, chat. Streamer mode. There you go. Bam. I turned it on. Just for you, Boosfer.
Streamer mode? Why would I want streamer mode, bro?
I'm asking Kane.
Who's Kane?
I'm asking Shatter.
Who's Shatter?
Okay, stop hooking everyone, bruh. Up there, score on screen? Fuck, you're right. Wait, we only played one game. We already lost one game.
No, we didn't.
Yes, we did.
On the screen. No, we didn't.
Dude, we literally fucking did. What do you mean?
Don't you dare put that on the fucking screen!
Well, I put it on there, so.
Oh, jeez.
L.
Well, that's your loss, not mine. So.
Oh, Shatter said yes. Bet.
Bet.
W. Let's go! Yes, you can actually
good at the game as well.
Okay. What? Okay, what about me? Am I good at the game? Okay, why aren't you fucking responding? Hello? Like, I know you're not muted. You're not gonna answer if I'm good or not? Like, what? Hello?
I don't want to hurt your feelings.
Fuck you, asshole. Like,
You're a
what?
very sensitive human being.
Fuck you. Wait, what did I say when I first met you? When I met you in real life, what did I say?
started crying and said, "Mommy, please get me a."
Okay, no, actually, what did I say when I first met you in
This
real life?
big muscular man scares me.
No. What did I say when I first met you? What did I say in real life? What did I say? Say it.
You said that you're a bitch.
HOPLITE. Okay, did not fucking say that, asshole.
Basically.
HOPLITE.
I need to turn you down.
Hello, Shatter. Oh,
Yeah,
Your
he's-
mic is
yo.
loud.
Yeah, I know he's really loud.
God
I'm
damn.
not.
No, not him, bro.
Yeah, that's
I'm
what
talking to
saying,
you.
Andre,
No,
stop
I'm not
shouting.
loud. What do you mean?
Turn
Finally,
you down to
someone
like
can help me carry
70.
this guy. Okay, 70 is too
dude.
low,
I'm
bro.
telling
Come
you right
on.
now, by the way, Andres hogs all the
Dude,
loot
shut
and
your
loses the
fucking...
game.
Dude, you fucking... Wait, what do you mean, bro?
It doesn't matter. We'll just win. It doesn't
Let
matter.
me get katana.
Don't
Let me
worry.
get katana. Oh, what did I mine for? I got absolutely jack shit. But no, give me katana. Okay, buddy. All right, Booster. Okay.
What? You won that
Do I have
game.
you guys friended?
Yeah, you have me friend. I have added you. I'm
Actually,
Kieran,
wait,
dead
yeah,
friend.
You have me friended as well, yeah.
Do I? Okay. Just invite me.
I did.
Oh, that's you?
It's me, yeah.
Okay.
Let's get it.
No way you play on Nick, bro. That's crazy.
I play on Nick, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
you love getting targeted, bro. You love getting targeted.
No, bro. Everyone's afraid.
Yo, Ratchet, thanks for follow. Appreciate it.
Trust
Okay,
me.
well, that has not been our experience.
Yeah, it's crazy
Really?
because I mean,
No, it's like it's not the people that are like good that watch me and Andres. It's the kids that will follow you. For
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
and just not
I
let you
just
do
like...
anything.
I think it's just because I've always played unnicked and like I just always run it down and go for kills. Whenever people see me, they just run.
Mm.
It's like you know, like the Greninja effect. How everyone's just afraid of him,
Oh yeah.
and so
yeah.
he'll play unnicked, and then everyone's just
I would
scared.
disagree.
Like,
if
do
I saw him
some-
equally as equal stuff as me, I would go in for the 1v1.
I just mean
you
like all the
wouldn't.
randoms and like the people that don't have
Oh,
like
yeah,
a lot
yeah,
of game sense. They just see him and like no matter what they have,
Yeah,
no matter what he has, they're like, oh my god, run. That's like basically how it goes.
Yeah, my first game on the server was not enjoyable. I didn't want to play at all. I got chased, and the guy was like, "Oh, I'm chasing you to border, just like a manhunt." And he literally did not stop chasing me. I just wanted to, yeah. So I was crying.
Oh,
I
that's
cried to
annoying.
Stuart.
Why are there so many people that are teleporting around, bro?
Yeah, I just the way I play is like the method that I use is just so consistent that I normally have better stuff than everyone.
Wait, what do you go for? Like, do you just rush out 3?
I just rush Nether
Oh, really?
every game.
Yeah, but
And there's
everybody else
a
as
guaranteed.
well.
Okay, but I'm faster
W.
every
Yeah,
time.
also potions are overrated, by the way. When you only have 6
No.
of them, it's just not good.
No, you just get tier 1, 8 minutes. You have
8
potions
minutes.
the entire game.
I heard about that.
Yeah, okay, that's better. Yeah, but I see
Yeah.
everybody rush like tier 2, and it's just not worth it.
No.
Oh no, tier 2 potions are
yeah.
bad.
Yeah, because people can
Tier
just
2
outrun that.
potions. Yeah, they also nerf tier 2 to where it's still
Yeah.
the same length, but it's like not that much better than tier 1. So if you get tier 1 potions, it's really good because you're just faster than everyone.
Yeah.
So you can catch up to anyone and get away from anyone, and then you also just do more damage than anyone. It's just like a little advantage.
You can only craft 6 now, right? 6 pots
Yeah, but
per person?
Yeah, it's 24 minutes though of
Yeah, it's a
strength and
lot.
speed, so it's like it's more than enough. Okay.
My chapstick.
Sea lava pool. Neg 330, 580.
Why do you go for lava pools?
Neg 330,
above
580.
ground? Why do you go for lava pools above
You have to
ground?
go back up the surface to get water, and then you're
Yeah,
already
I
on
know
surface.
You have to, but it's also like you can just go back down into the cave if you see a lava pool.
Yo, Andy, thanks for follow. Appreciate it.
It's more consistent to get a lava pool, but like I switch like if I have like water, it depends. It just depends.
I disagree. I've always entered faster with a lava pool in the cave than above ground. The cave lava pools are also usually bigger, and sometimes the overworld lava pools require me to dig a hole instead of going straight forward.
Yeah, it just depends. It's good to know where at least know where a lava pool is for consistency. Because if you have a cave that you don't think goes down further, it's not worth checking. And it's more with just making sure you get in. Okay, these caves are so bad.
Yeah,
I've been
I
in 2 caves that haven't
My
hit
cave is pretty
iron.
decent. My cave is pretty decent.
I saw Feinberg yesterday going Nether. Oh my god, dude. Bro is in Nether 30 seconds in. Like,
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah. He's always the first in Nether. Okay, but I've been in 3 caves and none of them have went down to iron.
Yeah,
Oh no, I see iron now.
I can rush.
You Nether, Booster?
I can go another.
Well, that's a first. No way you're Nether 1 minute in.
What? I'm not in Nether yet, but
Yeah, but I mean, you're getting iron.
And then I'm here.
Oh, that's a team.
No, I already have everything. I just need.
this cave also
I'm
sucks.
right next to an ocean, so I didn't even have to go up.
Oh.
Right now. I just literally just dug a one dirt block and it grabs water bucket.
Yeah, it's really hard to carry Booster out on these streets. Ain't that right, Booster?
I'm literally carrying you every single
Okay,
time.
shut your mouth, bro. No, you're not,
When was the last
man.
time you got nether, bro?
I don't know.
50 years ago. 50 million.
All right,
years ago.
all right, okay. Another age joke. Nice, man.
Oh, damn it.
Just love being called old, man. Say it again.
It is Bastion. Nope. Fortress. But no spawner. Oh, late spawner. Okay. Are we going for potions?
Do you see the
Yeah.
fortress?
Yeah, I'm right next to the fortress.
Okay. Yeah, I'll still enter.
Yeah, just enter. I'm getting wart first because it's closer.
Oh, mine.
I do need to bridge. I should have grabbed some wood.
Find a diamond already. W. I love single vein of diamonds.
Bastion games are so much more fun than Fortress games.
Yeah, I've never met anybody who likes
Fortress.
Fortress games more than Bastion games. Fortress games
Oh,
are just
more
so
diamonds.
boring, less healing. It's just it's versatile. I think I get both nether.
And I feel like Bastions just also have more loot, so like it's like more spread out. I feel like if it's Fortress, you just have one person that gets the first spawns on everything, kills the blazes, breaks the spawners, and then it's like.
Okay, I got one of the nether wart rooms. I'm going for spawner already, so that
I
nobody.
have 10 diamonds on me.
So you can get the second wart room to get it out.
Pretty
10
much extra.
diamonds?
Yeah, dude, I just found like 3 veins right next to each other.
That's actually huge.
Yeah, another dude
It's
is
really
in
good.
Fortress, by the way, so I need to get spawner now.
Oh, yeah, I just found a wart room too.
I bet.
Is anybody in the has the looter kit? I mean.
No, I go miner kit.
Same.
I guess I should also just try to get blaze rods with you.
Yeah, we need to get blaze rods right now. There's another dude looking for it. He might just.
Yo,
Is it? Oh yeah, there's a
Natalia,
spawner
hello.
right here.
Welcome to the stream. Hello.
I was in completely opposite direction then. Okay, I'm gonna
I have one
go
rod.
the other spawner.
How many rods do you have?
0.
Hello. We're not breaking the spawner, right? Like we're chill. Like we're not. We're chill. Okay.
Oh, more diamonds.
Here, watch us, watch us, watch us.
I found the second spawner. It's lava covered, so that's.
Nobody will know.
I got a rod by the
Oh.
way.
Yo, why did I got 15 diamonds but nothing duped? Like what?
Okay, you need to relax, bro. 15.
I have 3 rods.
I got a rod by the way.
I think it's like there's priority. It goes to whoever joined the server like first. I just have priority over all these people, so I'm just grabbing all the rods.
Nice. Yeah. You can mine the spawner whenever, by the way. I think we have enough rods.
Me and this guy made a pact to not break the spawner. So you have to be the bad guy. You have to be the bad guy if you want the. Yeah, I grabbed the wart room. If you want the spawner broken.
I got 2 rods. I'm coming to break yours. He needs a.
All right, you got 2 rods. Yeah, he did. That's crazy.
Is he stupid, bro?
Did you break it?
No, but he was trying to block it up. I broke it.
Asshole.
Damn.
Let's go. Did you guys get the second ward room?
Yeah, I got wart.
Okay, nice.
Dude, this cave is amazing. Holy.
Okay, I'm going back to where we came
15 diamonds and it just keeps on going.
from. Toxic, bro. Wait, there's more? There's straight blazes in this game? Since when?
Wait, what?
Oh my god. I'm going through this portal.
I'm going through our portal. So I have not discovered my cave yet.
There's no more diamonds.
Did you guys come through my portal or no? I think you did.
Wait, how many rods do you have?
More diamonds.
2, okay. So we just can all make potions,
Oh,
but we
2 more
should only
veins
make
of diamonds.
one brewing stand.
Dude,
Oh my
what
god,
is
bro.
going on, dude?
What?
No,
Like, how
I'm
many
actually-
items do you have?
Let me see. I'll tell you right now. Hold on. Okay, this is a 4 vein. Dude, not. They haven't duped it. Like what? Okay, they finally duped. Okay, I have a total of 23 diamonds.
Oh.
Holy shit.
I can start brewing, by the way. I'm right next to an ocean.
Dude, what is this idiot doing following me, bro?
Are we gonna meet up to brew, or do you guys want to brew separately?
I think we beat up to brew. no?
Well, we kind of have to meet because we don't have
Yeah,
enough
'cause
blaze
we're-
rods to like separately brew.
Okay.
I can mine iron for someone. I have, dude. What the fuck? I just need to get obsidian. What am I doing? Okay. Dude, oh my
So
god.
get my iron then, and then we go for brewing, right?
Yeah, I kind of have to run towards you guys though because I portaled into a different quadrant.
Bet.
Oh, Lush Cave. Great.
Wait, can you get leather on the way?
Yeah, I'll try to find
Bet.
cows.
I'll get the enchants then. Or get the obsidian for the enchants.
I might need you guys to grab me iron,
Bet. I can do that.
maybe.
I don't know why. Is it the server lagging, or is it just me lagging?
Might just be you. I'm good. I see creeper. Oh, amethyst.
Ooh,
Oh, I see cows.
my cards.
I guess we all have diamond swords.
Yep.
Oh, 2 cows, no leather.
Oh, I think, yeah, Booster, I think I know
I
what you're
got
talking about. I also got lagged back
One
right now.
leather.
I don't know. It's like
Yeah.
like a little bit of entity lag.
Oh, I don't know about that one. I just got like lagged back for some reason. My cave just ended. Fuck. Okay. It was doing so good.
Yeah, I feel like the only thing that's like the only bad thing about the server is how like the proxies randomly shut down and like that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Like
I
the
need
lag.
more diamonds, guys. I don't know how big the vein is.
Dude,
58.
what?
Oh my.
At least I got 2. Okay, it's 4. Yeah, it's 4, and I duplicated.
Dude.
one. I'm just making my sword
Damn.
instantly then.
Okay, yeah, it's good. Make sure one of you gets obby.
Yeah, I'll get it. Unless Booster, you can get
What
it
are your
faster.
guys' names?
Nah, I can't.
I'm Kieran Dev Friend. Oh,
You can
fuck.
probably... Wait, what is
Oh, I
mine?
see.
Destroy your
idea.
cat. Probably, maybe.
I'm the hazmat suit guy. I'm Nano Infinity 942.
Ooh.
Do you have any string?
No. I am near.
I don't have
so
any.
I can grab.
Gotcha.
I can grab.
I have like I have books for all of us.
Bet.
Nice. I have some paper as well, by the way.
I need redstone. Panelblade, do you have redstone?
No, I don't have any.
Redstone?
I have any. Oh,
I have 30, I have 30, I have 30, I have 30.
Yeah, there's just a teammate on me and I'm trying to get.
Hopefully they don't steal. We usually get that in our big games. where
Yeah.
pots.
Steal our pots,
Oh.
they just
So
take one
I feel
pot.
like we can't. Yeah, you will need to lead them away since you're a YouTuber. If they're the kids that will steal.
I'll just tell them not to steal it.
Ah,
Okay, there we go. He gave me.
Good luck with that
I
one.
mean,
we
Maybe
have.
they will listen to you. Maybe.
But yeah,
they'll
maybe
listen
you're
to
right.
you,
You're right. You're right. Maybe they listen to
Maybe you're
you.
like, yeah, maybe
They
you
will.
do have some authority, you know.
Trust me.
Because we have
We've
not
had a
had
guy.
that luck, bro.
Oh, Booster, remember that one guy that sold one potion from each brewing stand one time?
No,
Oh, dude,
I
that-
remember that
oh.
like when we were brewing in a cave and like 3 people were around and just looking at us brew, dude.
This guy is just following me. I'm not gonna lie.
And then I got.
I'm just gonna start brewing in this tree though.
Okay, I need iron for boots, by the way.
Okay, I'm getting obsidian now, Booster, since I don't know if you got it.
Can you grief me? Yeah, I got grief me.
Booster, can you get iron for shatter?
No, I'm missing.
I have
boots,
19 iron, so I don't need like a lot.
Okay.
I have nothing. Like I'm missing iron for myself. I don't have boots.
I have 19 diamonds after enchant table. Should I just make gear or you can split it? We can split ox split gear, I guess.
You could just
But
make
yeah,
full
whatever you want
diamond,
to
be
do.
honest.
Doesn't really matter. Yeah.
Yeah, you could just make full diamond and you're the one that goes in.
Or I
and
can just give
then
everyone piece
nothing.
too. I mean, like, I don't have to be full diamond. You can all just be like a piece, sharp 3. Because you have diamond
I'll just get-
sword. Give Shatter 2
I have diamond
diamonds.
sword already. I have it
Yeah,
already.
and you have 2 extra, no?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have 3 extra.
Try to start making your way over to me soon
Bet.
if you guys can. I'm about to
Okay, I'm on.
finish my
I am 500
set of
blocks.
potions.
I don't have boots, nor do I have apples. So I am.
I have 30 gold, so.
You have some extra iron for me as well.
We'll see right now. Hold on.
I need 2 iron.
Is it-
for boots.
Okay, so what I'll do? Wait for leather. Hold on.
Do we even have an anvil, by the way?
No, okay. We can probably mine from right now. Let me make.
Yeah.
Okay, I found a cave that has.
Yeah, this guy is chill.
Okay.
This guy's actually just watching me brew. Like he's not even. He's just like looking at me.
Will you need my 2?
Yes. I need your 2 diamonds for. Wait, what? 2 what?
Oh, my rods.
Oh,
Some rods
yeah,
for-
for strength. Yeah, probably.
I got boots.
Alright, I'm full diamonds. I'll give everyone like a piece. I'll split my pieces for everyone. And I have 30 gold. All right, 38 iron for someone.
We can probably make anvils after our first drop. Then we just drop people from.
Dude, what am I digging up on a cave or on a mountain? Jesus.
Maybe our teammates are gonna have anvil. Who knows?
Oh, stooge. Okay.
Oh, I'm up here.
Yep.
I have everything for you to brew.
Bet. FGC apples on the floor. 6 apples. Let's go.
Okay. I'm done my potions.
Oh, okay, I'm just gonna turn my.
Here,
rods
take
into
this
powder.
and take this
Thank you.
leggings.
Thank you. Take.
And you have leather.
I have books if that's what you're needing.
Yep.
And then take that. Take that. Take that. Take that.
By the way, if you guys are up on the tree, there is a guy here. with
Yeah, it's fine. Come over, Booster.
Oh, I need a diamond sword.
Yeah, Booster has a diamond for you.
I have a diamond sword.
Oh, okay, okay.
Oh yeah, do you guys?
Hi, Lyric. Hello.
Oh wait, I
Yeah, I
didn't give
tossed
you one
them
of your
out.
bottles. Okay, good, good, good.
Is this you? Wait, who?
No, no.
This is me. Yeah, I'm unnicked.
We actually, Loki needs 7 iron for leggings. I didn't think.
Yeah, yeah, you gave me a fuck ton of iron here.
It's just one strength and one speed, right?
Huh? Like, yeah, 1 batch of each.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you guys have bottles for me as well or no?
I can go grab them. I need to
have
get
sand,
them
I have
from.
sand. I have sand. I have sand. I have sand.
Oh, okay, okay. Yeah, I just need to. I actually probably need to grab my own anyway, because unless you have a fuck ton of sand, I need.
No, I have 6. I have 6. I have 6. I can.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna go grab some because I need to make because I haven't went caving like at all, so I don't have any levels.
Okay.
I'm also gonna need lapis.
Yeah. Okay. Another teammate came in, so he might steal your potions. Be careful.
No, it's good.
All good.
Do you have a book for me, by the way?
Yeah.
Okay. Or just you might want to pick.
I'm gonna toss the book back here.
Oh yeah, you're doing so. Okay.
So brewing, yeah. It's my last one.
Lapis.
I don't have. Actually,
Here.
I do have, but could you check?
2, 3.
Could you guys check if you have sharpness for the book?
I don't have sharpness. I only have prot. And I still need to enchant my boots.
Or do you shatter?
Oh yeah, I have to get sharpness on my sword.
Or shatter.
Wait, you do,
We're
what
not
do you need me
we're
to
not
do?
voting farming, right?
No.
No, just no.
I have
I'm just
5
making
gaps.
sure
I
our
can give you-
teammates aren't voting farming because
2 gaps behind you, by
guys,
the way.
stop voting farming. Vote
You
offense.
still need to.
Yeah, I know. I just did it. Here, should I walk behind real quick? I just tossed 2 gaps and some golden apples behind you.
Oh, dub,
If
thank
any of
you.
you can get an extra sharpness book, let me know, because I need that.
Hold on, I'm gonna do this last bridge here. Okay.
Okay, we got a vocal one.
Oh, Booster, here, wait, Booster, where you at? Come here, Booster. Take these diamond boots and give me your boots.
Okay.
Thank you. Then I'll grab my speed, and then you can start brewing your stuff, Booster.
Oh, I can get one of you a sharp book if you need still.
Alright.
Anyone need sharp?
No, I'm sharp 3 already.
I need sharp.
Okay, I got
Here
you.
go. I'm here.
Oh yeah, this one too.
What's up,
Let me see
Gabriel?
what's up.
Hello.
There you go.
How are you? Doing pretty good. Doing pretty good. Playing teams
Alright.
with Boosfer and xShatter.
Are you good with all your brewing stuff?
Yep.
Yeah, I got my brewing stuff. You guys should
Okay.
go for kills.
Okay, bet.
Yeah.
There was a guy towards the tree there.
Yeah, there was a guy over here. I think. Wonder if he's still there. I think he actually. Oh, I
need
really
to,
get rid of this fog, bro. It's actually annoying.
My inventory's so
You
messy.
guys should go help Shatter and Andres. They're gonna go for kills now. I'm just finishing up stuff here.
Probably might have dipped. Yeah, he's not there anymore.
Okay, we can just run to 0-0.
Bye bye.
Actually, wait. Here's a string. Forgot I had that. Yeah, there you go. Follow Shatter, boys. Boys, follow.
Follow Shatter for kills.
Like they're just standing here. They would be way more beneficial for kills for you.
Yeah.
It's gonna drive Booster insane.
There are a lot of those kinds of teammates on here. The lurkers.
Yeah, but
They'll just like stand around and watch you.
There's the late lurkers and the late miners too. That's all
Yeah,
of
but,
us.
like, usually, these are like chill lurkers. Usually we get lurkers that even try to grab your potions, and whenever you like get a kill,
Yeah.
they just jump into the.
They
pile
just
to
take
get it.
all of your
my
shit.
god, that's like
They
yeah,
just
pet peeve
jump
right there.
into they just jump into the pile so you don't get it.
That shit gonna be
Like,
so
you're one head
bad.
away from the scythe.
Oh,
but
yeah.
They will take every opportunity to. They don't even use the head. They don't
Yep.
even know.
They won't even do any damage on the kill.
And the
They'll
worst
just
part
take
is-
all the shit from.
Nah,
They
and
just
then
wanna
the
be
worst
a
part.
part of the game.
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
They just wanna be a
You
part of
ask
the game.
for the head, like, oh, I didn't get it. I was like, motherfucker, I literally saw you take the head. It's in your inventory. Like
Probably
they're
don't even
lying
know
for
the
what
head
reason?
Is, man. They probably don't even know what it is.
I'm fighting a guy.
I see it. He looks like a noob. Is he?
Yeah, he's
cut him off here.
dead. Done 20. 23.
Be right there, boys.
He has lava. Watch out, man.
Oh no. Oh. Turn right. Turn right. Turn right. Turn right. Oh my god. All right.
Okay, I have a G head.
Is that a person? Is that a flower? It's a flower. Wait.
Are you guys popping the
Ooh.
potions earlier, or
It's
are you
fire.
saving them for like that?
I'm
next
just
stuff?
Pop him
saying.
now.
Popping now?
I mean, next time you see someone, pop
Wait,
them.
Yeah, okay.
Because they're 8-minute potions, so we'll have them the whole game.
Okay.
But if somebody has scythe, it's just doomed.
If someone has scythe, we just stop popping potions.
Until we take them.
I said, where's Shatter? I can hear him.
Oh?
Like, he's got to be able to see me.
I see him. Two teamer. Northwest of me. He's running toward me, I think.
See you guys? Are
Yeah.
they running towards the river? Can I cut them off?
Oh, I
they're
see him.
Yeah.
It's northeast, man.
People.
People.
Oh, they're northwest of you. Never mind.
People.
Our teammate has an enderbow.
Yeah, he did grab an arrow bow.
What the hell?
That's why he was asking for a bow.
Oh.
Oh shit.
I'm cutting out this one.
That says 13.
Nope.
Got him.
Nice.
This guy picked the head up.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I saw you gaps. I mean, it's still him.
You picked the gold up too. Can I get the gold? 2 gaps. Why is there a pig just spawn in my face?
Guys, there's an endermite going for our teammates. Yo, relax.
Yeah.
Panda
it's
Blade, do you have the
already
gold nuggets?
teammates.
Like you literally picked up everything, man.
Dude, you need gold. I have gold, bro. I have.
Yes,
Someone
yes,
steal your
please,
shit?
yes. Yep.
How much
What
gold?
we were
do you
talking
need?
about earlier. I need 8 for the.
Alright, I got you.
I see a guy.
All right, we're good. You're good.
God
There's a
damn,
fine.
bro.
Sorry,
Leave
sorry.
your desk alone, dude. It's not
Okay,
a
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Holy.
Woo, I'm fine. Okay. Like, were we just talking about people just picking your stuff up, bro?
I hate when you accidentally break like grass, and then it like stops you from critting. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah.
But that is a strat. I used bone meal to like in planes to beat somebody once. Like I
Oh
bone meal
my.
grass and it turns into tall grass and they can't.
Yeah,
hit me.
I saw.
Oh, that is insane.
You know what Fruitberry does? I saw him do it. He picks up a bunch of
With the-
what is
with
it,
the
peonies?
flowers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just places. I'm like, what?
That is fun though. Like it's a strat nobody.
It
expects,
is. It
no one
is fun.
uses.
Wait, is that someone at the village? It's someone at the village. There's 2 people at the village. It's
Because if
northeast.
someone, yeah, if
3
they use
people.
their sword to break it, then the next hit can't be a crit.
3 people northeast of me. I'm on the way for you guys.
Yeah, I'm on my way.
Okay, well that's just.
Unless they
for
switch
ninja.
the sword, like they.
Yep, I am Greninja. Yep, that's me. It's 4 people.
Wait, oh, you're far.
I'm
away.
Greninja. Yep.
Confused why I
Yep.
couldn't
Yep.
see you.
Yep.
Do you think you're Greninja?
Yep.
You sound exactly like him.
One's on 11. I'm running away. I see you
more
guys.
More people coming.
Yeah. It's fine. We can. Yeah, should I get those guys?
Yeah, I'll get this one.
Server's lagging?
Yep.
Oh, this guy's just lagging. It's on 21. No, he's not.
It was on 23.
He's on 8. Oh my god, I do so much damage.
Guy's so fast.
He's on 2. You can turn on Jason, get a kill.
Got him. Good gap somewhere. Dropped him with healing, but I don't know where the gap's are. They're right there.
Dropped another one?
Yes. What's it clips on? It's on 29.
Coming over the river?
Yep. Chasing this guy. I have a G-head, by the way. Let me know if you want to just call it out if you can eat it.
Yeah, yeah. Bigger team
7.
in the snow.
Got him.
The guy that I was chasing ran into a different team, by the way, so if you guys want to come over.
I'm coming.
Got a kill.
Nice. Alright. I just picked the shit up. Fuck.
Okay, he does not want to fight me anymore.
Oh, I have 8 diamonds. I guess I'll just make a chest.
Are you by yourself, Booster? Or is someone like Okay.
What in the fuck?
Yeah, let's get another. I'm coming.
On my way.
Oh, they found the powder stone. Never mind. Their ass.
Just run. No, I don't have ETO, man.
No,
Sorry.
no.
Oh, it's fine. That's so good, so good. Chasing someone? I have
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, TP over here. TP over here. If you have Ender, bro. TP on this guy. Careful if you're getting it.
I need help. Need help. Need help.
Oh, our teammates are getting backstabbed.
Nice. Oh, it's at 4-5 team Booster.
Okay, let's go.
You guys need help?
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Okay, I have to let our teammates die so I could come help you.
Wait, why am I not?
It's more important you guys are alive.
Oh, wait, this guy's unenchanted iron.
This guy's unenchanted diamond. Enchanted diamond. Wait, these guys are low-key.
Yeah, if we drop them.
Yeah, we can probably drop them. Wait, TP on the. They're going
It
down.
has a 45-second cooldown.
Oh, well, you know what? I think they might be trapping. The Loki could be trapping.
That is fine.
I can just build a guy.
There are people under.
Getting a 1-by-1 turn now.
No, there's a teammate right there, man.
Wait, come down.
Bet.
He headed.
Got him. He had a bunch of heads on him. What? I mean, Booster, careful. You got knocked down.
Yeah, I know. Like they're lagging so badly.
Got him.
Good diamond guy.
Yep, Jason, that guy too. Our team is just pearled down there.
Yeah.
Got it.
Fuck.
Oh, he's on 2.
He's on 2. He's dead.
Wait, why am I speed?
Huh? Your speed ran out?
Yeah, I don't know why. My speed ran out for some reason.
What's up, what's up, choke? Milk. Hello, milk. How are you, man? Yeah, we're playing with Shatter. Someone just. Is that you, Booster? With the horn?
No. Nice. Okay. I got the chest.
Jesus.
I'm waiting for the.
And magma cream. Or not magma
You guys
cream.
okay?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay.
One of them. One person dropped gaps, so I don't know where they're at. That's our teammate picked them up.
Alright, I'm full diamond.
Holy shit.
Nice. I'm also almost full diamond. I need 2 diamonds for leggings. Okay, I can make Artemis if somebody. Wait. I can make Artemis well. 1 second.
There's
Anybody got
a
by the way?
What?
Anybody got caught
Hello.
copper or
Follow me, get trapped. Hey man, I don't think I'm gonna get trapped by you.
anybody got
Yeah?
Copper?
A copper now. There's probably copper.
I actually want to see your trap. Can you show me your trap?
Holy shit.
Need somebody to give me copper.
Oh really? So, should I just follow you then?
Do you have apples?
I trust your IGN.
Yeah, I have apples.
Apples? Apples? Give me
Yeah, I
apples.
can give it right now. Hold on.
Ooh,
I gotta make
nice
healing
man.
myself though.
Here's crafting.
No.
I only have 1 gap, so.
Yeah, no, I have 0.
Nice trap, man. Oh, you got my teammate. Oh, yeah, yeah, this guy just trapped my... Your IGN didn't fool me, man. Or your words didn't fool me, rather.
Would you have redstone booster?
I need apples, not
This guy's gonna kill our teammate.
Oh, apples here.
This guy just...
Okay.
Guys, this guy's IGN is follow me, get trapped, and our teammate just followed him and got trapped.
Oh my god. Wait. Oh, it's this guy right there. We're coming.
Hey, reverse psychology works on some people, I guess.
Would you have redstone booster?
Yeah, I do.
Me up.
Wanna gamble?
Hey guys. Okay, this guy is the goat apparently.
Which give me redstone.
Getting chased by the goat of Minecraft PvP right now.
Wait, is he really good?
I don't know. I just ran up to this guy and he just fucking
Oh,
gave me the 1-2. This guy just gave like 5-hit comboed me.
Just a hoop.
Yeah, I'm getting chased by like 3 people, but they just can't catch up to me since I have speed. So
Bet we're coming.
I'm not even like worried. They have G heads as well, so
Okay.
if I fought it, kind of just be dumb. There's if you guys have amethyst, there's a ruin portal at 0-0 that has 2 crying obbies. So like
Ooh.
we could diamond pick it if we wanted to.
You have pickaxe, okay.
I can make it down a pickaxe. Where is it? What are the chords? 0-0?
It's like at 0-0, but I'm currently fighting.
You got him, sure.
Dude, this guy might actually be cheating. Like I'm not even kidding. This like I actually can't hit this guy.
What is that, Jen? Is it Zivero? No, it's not.
It's not nerfer.
Not nerfer? Alright, port him.
Like
I already had a guy crit combo me from 6 blocks away, which is like theoretically impossible in a deathmatch, so I wouldn't put it past the server. Like I've already seen it come across.
Yo, AZ, you have key spec that guy?
There's 4 more players behind you as well, so you need to run.
Holy. Yeah, with pot speed and strength here again.
Yeah, we can't
I dropped the nerfer guy.
Nice.
I dropped their only player. Oh my god, there's people everywhere.
Holy shit.
Yeah, okay, I'm potting, I'm going in.
Yeah, potting in, going in too? Like Batman. I see that guy. You got him. Nice. That guy's that guy's bad. Nice.
There's more people over here.
Yep.
Yeah, they ran away, they ran away.
I'm purling. Ah!
Is there
Let's
copper?
go!
Does anybody have copper?
No. Just saw you pearl. I'm like, okay, huh? Bro, it's no time to get for those kills. Yep, that guy's that too. Lucky I don't have arrows.
There's diamond boots here.
Ain't no
Do you
way.
need that?
There's 2 more like kept running past the village, by the way.
Yep, I see them right behind you. They're trying to chase you now, but chasing him. Sure, where you at, bro?
It seems it might be a little bit too late for that.
I don't know where I am actually.
You following me?
Like,
I see you.
I'm looking for the portal.
No, just help us fight these guys first, and we go to the portal.
Okay.
Oh, I suck.
Like, we already have like strength and speed. Okay. Yo, selfie chan, bro. Nah, give me that.
Nah, fuck you. You didn't get my gold horn. Fuck you.
Nah, give me your gold horn. Give me your gold horn.
No. Yo.
Nope, I'm getting either way then. I want that gold horn. Nah, that's it. No, you're dead.
Whoa, Andres.
I'm sorry, man. I'm not Andres. What do you mean? I'm not Andres. I'm
oh, my bad. You're on. My bad.
Oh,
yeah, I'm Greninja.
You're indifferent. Oh,
Exactly,
yeah.
No way it didn't give me the kill for that.
Totally not obvious.
What kind of shit is that? This guy just fell down a cave while running from me.
Okay, you're still doing it. Nah.
Yo,
Got that. He's gonna live. Come on.
No.
Let him live.
Yo, relax.
Nothing wrong.
Relax, bro.
Use that pro for nothing.
Uh-oh. Yeah.
Yo,
No! He threw it outside the border.
Go get it. Go grab it. Tank that damage, bro. Get that shit.
Oh, never mind. Our teammate's taking it for me. Yo, W teammate. Give me the horn. No, not the head, bro. Dude. You got. Oh my god, bro.
Yeah, it's just
I
simple
have 8
iron.
gaps. We're chilling.
Oh, okay, we're chilling. You can't. You can't jump now. Wait, give me
This
that
game
horn,
is
bro.
just over. No one's gonna have anything.
I got you.
Thank you, brother. Hell yeah.
The urge to pearl in this guy is very strong right now.
Wait, where does teammate go?
Like,
He was this way.
I have literally no reason to, but
Yeah, that's
Yo, you want? Dude, I got a crazy bow. You want to trade? Like, it's actually like this bow is actually crazy. Like, genuinely, like you're gonna be jealous about this bow. We should trade. Trying to trade?
No, I'm chilling.
Nah, trust me. Like, this bow is gonna change your mind. Trust me. Like, you're gonna see this bow, you're like, damn, it's definitely worth the trade.
Alright, damn. I wanna see it.
I'm trying to gaslight this guy. That is crazy.
No, it's real. No gaslight. Pass me your bow. Don't read it yet. What? You did not work.
Bye.
Nah, that's crazy.
Bye.
Wait, drop the bow. Wait, like, I'm curious if you can.
I see a name tag on the ground
Huh.
here. That you're running like to your right here.
Yo, Biological Neo, thanks for follow. I
Yeah, I
appreciate
see a
it.
guy.
Who's in your
He might
game?
be trapped in
xShatter and Boosfer.
Going in though. I might get trapped here, boys.
Hey, why are you gonna get trapped? Why are you falling for NPC traps? Are you following? Follow me, get trapped?
No, I'm Linux City, looking Linux City guy.
Oh,
Okay, never mind.
nice. Good job. You got trapped.
He was not. He did have trapped.
I have 2 heads. Am I saving them or like I'm gonna use one? I want to
I
gamble.
have another head.
My gambling addiction has been crazy
Oh
recently.
yeah, it's always
Dude, I
if
just
you
want
if
copper,
you're
man.
once everyone on the team makes all their G heads, you might as well just use
Gamble.
Aries. Yeah, make Aries with the
Oh, a
rest.
guy is mining near me. Yo, come to me, boys.
This guy is still just running forever.
Come to me. Come to me. Come to me.
What are your cords? I don't have a compass to throw it out.
3 people mining. 3 people mining here near me.
Oh, you might die here.
Yeah, come to me.
Well, I don't know
They're
my
fighting,
compass.
They're fighting.
Oh, they're fighting? Oh, then one of them just die. It's Venu. It's freaking Venu.
Yeah, come to me, boys.
Yeah. Okay.
People
Okay.
voice chat.
Yeah. What are your cords? I need your cords. You can't. Like, I can't have a
You
compass.
can use your compass.
Okay, I don't have a compass.
Why do you not have a compass? That's the
Thank you.
dumbest decision.
Oh, I'm close. I see you, Booster.
Oh, I need a bow. I'm going to
Dude, imagine a
right
goat
here.
craft. Like you can craft
You see
like.
four people.
I see him right here.
I don't know exactly where they are. Maybe through this cave somehow. Here.
I got a 2-minute strength 1 potion from Aries.
Nice. Where are these? Nah, they're like in a mine shaft or something.
Bro. Oh, this guy just ate a G hit on me. Uh oh.
Oh, I got that. Oh, shit, you notice? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep. He's Midas. You can, yeah, just pour on him if you want. He's really low.
Probably get over here.
Nice shots, dude. Holy shit. 231.
Wait, they're talking
Just pearl
about
on him.
scatter, guys. Shh, shh.
It has a shitty fucking cooldown. It's really long.
These guys are so.
Oh my god, this guy's being cringe.
Something that I saw underground or.
You can just pearl in front of him if you want.
That's a 45-second cooldown, dude.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Just set it down.
Oh no.
Put up the key.
Keep going him. He's not gonna. He's just eating heads right now. Raw heads. Wonder what it is. Holy shit! Who's bowing him? God damn!
That's me, bro.
Oh my god! Wait, you're an archer.
17? Don't think so. Is that like a guy down the way? Be careful.
Yeah. By the way, there are computer trappers here because they were like talking like toddlers and.
Got him.
I got the minus.
They were saying your name, Shadow.
Right
Oh,
here?
sharp 6 Midas. Okay.
They're here. They
I'm
are
going.
100% trappers. I guarantee it.
Don't matter.
Finally get a diamond piece.
I've actually never gotten
Oh,
trapped on this
100%,
server. Fun
but-
fact.
Yeah, me either.
Never.
There's your kill.
I've gotten unsuccessfully trapped before.
Good job, teammate. You
Oh,
did
they're
good,
not
man.
Trapping? Never mind.
You want the Reaper Scythe on the guy?
Wait, he had a Reaper Scythe?
Yeah.
Wait,
I mean,
what?
you want that?
Can
Yeah,
somebody
yeah.
get these guys. There are 4 people here.
Sure, kill me.
Andres needs to come to me to us right now.
Oh my
by the
god.
way.
This guy.
They are. Shadow,
If
you
you
need
just come
to
down,
turn or
come down
something?
here.
No,
You
there are
sure you
3
need help?
people. 3 people.
Yeah, I know. I'm like down in the cave and I can't really get up.
Go make up.
Keep being up.
Boost rating 11.
Going up
Careful.
as well.
Oh my god,
One of them has a
these.
katana as well, I think. Yeah, they were talking like toddlers just waiting on the ground.
Oh my god, man.
Yeah, they do a lot of damage.
No, like the puffer fish. Just hitting me. This is so awkward. Like this cave is so
I
awkward.
know. I didn't wanna go down there.
Need a heal.
Got one.
Okay, come on.
There's a 13.
Got him. Ooh, sharp 7. Nice.
Okay, anybody got a bow? An extra bow?
No.
You guys want some gold?
Here, take side shadow. I don't know how to
Take
I don't know how to
some.
use it.
Take some gold.
Honest.
Hey man, take some gold.
Oh.
Why is it
Okay.
a short bow? Okay, I have this. I have this. What else do I need for Artemis? I already have Artemis. Okay, nice.
Okay. Where's that purple skin? I kind of want that. I got it.
How did I just get Artemis? Anybody got levels, by the way?
I have 16.
I have 15.
Anybody got apples? I have 40 gold, but I have only 2 gaps.
I gave Andres like 2 stacks of gold.
Yeah,
I didn't
guess
have any
somebody could give me,
apples.
like, yeah, I don't have much healing either.
Oh, wait,
That's fine.
I have
Yeah.
22 gaps.
I have 18 gaps, Booster.
Oh,
Oh, I
no.
only have 1 gap, guys. Hello? Please?
What? Boost for what?
Oh, arrows.
I need
What,
healing.
man?
I only have 1 gap and not even full.
Oh,
health.
you're fine.
You
You're
need
chilling.
something? I think you're
Please,
fine, bro.
Guys. Guys,
I'm
please.
tossing healing. I'm tossing healing behind. On the right.
You guys need this guy.
Oh, watch out! He has an emerald sword. Oh no!
Oh my god, not the emerald sword. I think you're sharp 8s. This guy really wants me dead.
Is that guy?
Hit. Good. Jump to the G head. Oh, my PG picked it up.
This guy's got a fucking bow.
To be honest, these guys are spamming hitting, and it's actually annoying. Got him. Got him. Sharp 9. No! Fuck you!
Oh my god! I just stole the final kill, bro.
Dude, I would have had sharp 10 that game, bruh.
That's so funny that I got that.
Yeah.
And I got a quest progress for that too, bro.
Wait, how many kills do you have, Booster?
5, bro.
You suck, bro. What are you, Shatter?
I got 11.
Okay, nice. I had 12. W,
Bro, I
double
had
digits.
no healing and I got focused in the cave. What do you mean I suck?
Yes. I mean, you got focused in the cave. I'm not
One
gonna lie.
close fight and the people that are actually stacked on our team, aka you and Shatter,
Yeah.
0 hits on you. Shatter probably takes like the weakest guy with him deep into the cave while 4 guys group
I wanted
up
to
on
kill,
me and
man.
almost kill me. I had to like run for my life, dude.
It was for a good cause. I wanted to kill.
Screw you, bro.
Yo, I'm not gonna lie. My mining game that game went crazy. 24 diamonds before PP. That's insane. No dupes, by the way. 0 dupes.
Why do you never like do that when we normally play? Is that just
Okay, like you act like I.
Shatter? Like
Okay, like you act like I. All right.
He kind of is a
Venus in
fan.
our game again, yo. We win for free. Venus is in our game.
Wait, what? Who?
Stream snipers from Andre's chat or just free win?
Oh yeah. There is one stream sniper. That's actually weird, but fine. He's a drop. Huh?
Who is it?
Wait, I think you said it. What was it?
C4?
Yeah.
Yeah, C4.
But it's a drop, so it doesn't matter. He's the only one that actually goes out his way, like actually shoots snipes. See.
What about Lil Andres? Did that guy just stop?
So Andres, I think he's a crystal player now.
Oh, disgusting.
I think he's pretty sure he does content on Bacon SP, Donut SMP. You guys literally clean? Okay, Vanu. Okay, Vanu. Wait, Vanu, did you win that game? Oh, that luck was his sign? I know. W chat. Okay, guys, show me Discord. Molly face. I forgot to.
So, what do you bench?
What's up, Dugan?
Would I bench?
Yeah.
I don't think I've like tried benching anything in years.
He benches more than you, Booster.
He just said he doesn't have.
No, he benches more than you,
Like,
though.
I used to be a 3-sport athlete, and then COVID hit, and then since then I literally just like never got back into working out at all.
Damn, so you just don't do. You just what do you?
Yes,
do
I am
then?
winning this queue.
I just play
Are you in this
Minecraft.
game?
Oh, you don't like. You're not.
You
active
are in this
at
game. I'm
all?
winning this queue.
No,
I'm winning
not
this
really.
queue.
Oh. Damn. Isn't that like really unhealthy?
I mean, as long as like I stretch every day and I like keep a good diet, so it's like fine. I'm not like
Or
too
your vascular
unhealthy,
system
but
needs to be exercised
you're probably right. But
on a daily basis.
Wait, what is
bro.
Booster yapping about? What is he saying?
Something-
Let me guess.
He's telling me I
telling
need-
you to go outside. Yeah, trust me. This guy's.
He is
No,
telling me to go
just move.
outside.
This guy's.
At least
He's
move
telling
a
me I
little
need to
bit,
be
yeah.
more active.
This guy.
You're probably
yeah,
right, but like,
Just don't. Booster.
Yeah.
Shut your bitch ass up, okay? I
What do
literally.
you bench, Andres? What do you bench? What do you bench? What do you bench? Yeah, don't talk to me until you bench more than me. This man benches the
How
same
much you
weight that
bench?
I rep.
Okay, like no,
I
you
can
know
bench,
what, dude?
I could bench 100 kilos.
I'm at right now. I'm at 165, but this Booster guy, like, okay, like this. Okay, Booster, how long have you been going to the gym for?
1
Exactly.
month.
Okay, that's fucking cap, dude. You started before me. Exactly.
You started like 50
No.
years ago because you're like 64, bro.
I literally. Okay, like I'm not. I don't know. Okay, where the fuck do you get when I'm 64 from still, bro? I thought we clarified. You saw my ID. You know how old I am. Why do you still call me 64? Also,
Wait,
what is this queue? 75 players is.
ooh, lava pool.
I see that.
He was really excited about getting the tree. He said, "Get the books, get the books." Oh, I found lava pool right
my-
near a cave, right near an ocean. No way. Could this be the perfect enter? 600 negative 330.
Yo, teammate,
Let's go.
give me some wood. Give me some. Yo, what's up, teammate? What's up, Blue? Izumi?
Yeah, I'm gonna try to get Dragon Katana, and if I get these books, I can get Sharp 5.
You're gonna get what?
Dragon Katana.
No. Wait, I have heard about Dragon Katana. Is that really good?
Yeah, and if I get Sharp 5 on it, it's 13.
Oh my God, surface armor iron as well. No way.
And I have enough
like a
books.
dream.
Yeah, I think I should also
Alright,
get a
it is
pretty
what
fast
it is.
enter.
Yeah, give me some bucks,
I
bro. Give
believe.
me like 2 bucks, bro. Come on,
Oh
guys.
my God, double surface iron. No way.
Sharing is caring, bro. You know what I mean?
But I gotta beat the match.
All right, bro.
my
Good luck.
God.
Good luck, man. Find your
And
diamonds.
it's
Pop
duplicated
off.
my iron as well, dude.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever been this happy in my life. It's a sad thing.
I got unlucky. My cave ran out, and I only got a smelter's pick +2.
Oh yeah, you can come to me.
I'm both.
You're 300 blocks from me.
Dude,
Try to get a lava bucket. No, a bucket.
these guys definitely saw Speed Simmer's video and are like, let's craft this, craft it. Because, dude, oh my God, he's getting attacked by a zombie. He's freaking out. Oh my God. All right. Are you guys another?
I'm about to enter.
Entering right now. Oh my God. Relax.
Please do Bastion. Please do Bastion.
What is this garbage lava pool, man? Fuck.
But by the way, Booster, I actually have a normal sleep schedule now. Like, I actually fixed it.
Nice.
I know. For like the
That's not a good
5th
thing
time
for
this
me.
month.
Like, I don't have anybody to hang out in the morning now. Fuck you, bro.
Sorry, man. Get someone else to wake up at 4 in the morning. It was bad, bro.
No,
I was like
I'll
sleeping
give
at
you
7 a.m., dude, and waking up like at
the fourth
4.
kills? That's disgusting. I am in the 4th though, and I'm right near the spawners. Do you want me to just
It's a
get-
fort.
Do you want me to get the blaze rods or no?
Yeah, I'll be in the nether in a second. Took a second to get back to the lava pool.
Yeah, I spawned on the 4th.
Oh yeah, so did I.
Okay. Nice. You go get the blaze rods, by the way. I got both the wart.
Yeah, I have to run to the bad part. So I spawned on, or run
No,
to
no,
the
the
good part,
spawner's right
whatever.
right there. The spawner's right there. Go back.
You mean right
How's
there,
everyone
man. I
doing in
gotta get
chat?
to the
Everyone doing
part.
good? Everyone having fun? Every guys watching me have fun,
I gotta
chat?
get there,
I'm
man.
having so much fun.
Follow me back.
I won my first game in Sev already.
I hear the blazes right
W.
here.
Oh, there's a little thing here.
Yeah, but
hear
the spawner was,
blazes.
like right there. Okay, I guess you can go there.
Oh, wait, make sure you follow my channel, please. Smiley face. If you follow my channel,
Spawn above?
I appreciate it
No.
so much.
Oh,
I just jumped into a
Stop
spawner though.
for grabs.
I'm in a spawner.
Thank you, Bio. Wait, are you watching on the TV, Bio?
Dude,
Oh my. W.
I have 2 rods. We just need like 4 rods.
Okay. Time to start the mining process. Couldn't find any leather, by the way, so actually, fuck. I have books, bro. All right. I'm throwing already, by the way, guys. I'm already throwing. I'm literally throwing.
How are you throwing, bro?
I've been looking for
What happened, man?
leather this whole time, and I have 2 books in my inventory. Like, oh my god. Okay. Could have been caving for like the past 5 minutes, but it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. What's up, Willerhide? How are you, Willerhide?
I have 4 rods. Should I just break spawner?
I have.
Willer, I saw your video, Tammy, by the way.
I'm gonna go break the other spot.
I guess really unlucky,
do
bro.
it.
You died.
I have the very
2 second died, bro. Death, bro.
Asking for where the spawner is.
Literally just an instant
Oh.
TNT minecart.
And the spawner does not exist anymore.
Yeah, I did. Maybe I'll get another blaze rod. Yeah, I got another blaze rod.
I kind of want to grab gold before I leave.
How are you? I'm doing pretty good.
Hey, dude, I'll
Probably gonna eat
Actually, no,
after
it's
stream.
basalt. It's basalt. I just don't even want to do this.
I'm washing my clothes right now, so
You can go back to my portal. by the way.
I'm gonna have like
Yeah.
I'm gonna have all my clothes ready. I'm gonna be able to go out tonight.
Right above.
I'm not going out tonight. What am I saying? I'm gonna stay home and just probably work on my thumbnail for the next video. Cause I need to upload this Saturday, low key.
Enchantments.
Yeah, as soon as I find a cave.
Wait,
Big
you want
rods.
all the here's all the brewing things. Actually, wait.
Oh, you want me to be the brewing bitch?
I mean, we all
Okay.
have to brew. But
Okay. Okay.
be the brewing bitch.
Well, I'll just be a bitch in
You know
general.
that-
Yo.
Did you know that Greninja doesn't even know all the brewing recipes by heart? Like he doesn't know.
Are you surprised?
By heart is crazy.
Nah, I'm not surprised. That guy doesn't even know how to build in construction and in Block Wars.
Oh yeah, Block Wars.
Qndres is a very unique specimen.
He's very unique. He only knows one thing. That's PvP.
He knows how to crit everyone out.
Yeah. I don't even know if he knows how to do shield PvP. I think he just knows how to crit people out. Yeah, you're right.
He's very good at it, though. He's very good at that thing.
I have seen it.
Wait,
run portal, I'm
Shatter
not
and Booster, did you guys sign up for
Right.
Mayhem?
Yeah.
I did,
W,
but
W,
Mayhem
W.
had to get postponed because it
I
was on
know.
the same day, 1 hour from Block Wars. So
I
it had
know.
to get postponed.
It's the week after though, so.
No, it was the same week. Same
Oh no, I'm saying like it got postponed for the day after, the week after though.
Yeah. Wait, wasn't it 2 weeks after?
Oh, was it 2 weeks after? I don't know.
It's so funny how all of the events like go off of each other. So like every week there's a different event.
Pretty cool.
Yeah,
So
but
they
this
make
ti-
sure that
this
they don't do
time-
their events on the same day.
Yeah, but this time Block Wars was the 2nd of December. Mayhem was also going to be the 2nd of December, and Pandora is going to be on the 3rd of December. So they were all going to be the same weekend. It's just 2 events crashed together, so they had to move it as well. And there's like a lot of the same
Yeah.
roster on Block Wars and Mayhem, so that's why they moved it. I heard somebody talking. I don't know if that was our teammate or not.
I just hope that they like fix the
Oh,
maps
there's
up a
enemy
lot.
singing above me.
Right, Booster?
For Mayhem?
Yeah.
Wasn't the ace race game?
Yeah,
map
H. No,
or-
I'm saying like
or
that's
was-
fine. I'm talking about like the Sky Battle one and like the maps that were just too close, like too closed in. Because then final was just
Dude,
like
why is-
annoying.
Wait, one of our teammates is telling me to mind him because he doesn't have a pickaxe. That is so funny.
You should ignore him. Make him mine out.
I
on this
am
one.
gonna ignore him because that's so funny.
You asshole.
He said he's not gonna get
Okay.
the katana, guys. That's so sad.
Just came up with an idea. What if
What if?
I just got gunpowder? What if we
I
made
have
tier
4.
2 potions and then full splashed at the same time, so that 3 potions is like actually 9 potions.
What's
You
up,
know?
dude guy? Hi, dude guy. Wait, you're cooking.
Am I cooking? I feel like that'd just be too much effort. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, because we have to all be together every single time, right? Or
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
and
then
also
again-
not last the same amount.
Yeah.
For everybody.
If we were in like a sweaty lobby, like if Doozum was on our lobby or something, then I'd probably do that and just save a set of tier 2s for him. But it's not like that. So.
Damn, he just called us non-sweaty. He just called us bad, basically. That's
Wait, what?
No, I'm saying the rest of the lobby is just not
I
good.
just said if the lobby was good, he would be doing that. If like Dozum was on his team,
No,
he'd save.
we would be
Tozen.
doing that if
Tozen's crazy.
Doozum was
That's crazy.
also in the lobby.
I just called us trash. That's crazy. Okay.
Dozen.
I have Anvil. Dozum. Yeah.
I forgot I was gonna ask. I was gonna ask something. Forgot. Fuck.
I can get books as well. Has anybody got diamonds yet?
No.
Okay.
Andres, you got diamonds, bro?
Yeah,
You're on
4.
diamond duty.
4 this time.
Oh, okay.
At least
My
we can get
diamond-
enchants.
Yeah.
Don't forget to grab copper on the way up then, because
Yo, that's the PvP song. Okay. Yes, it
Copper.
is. I hope.
What do you need copper for?
Dude, that'd be
Well,
fire,
are we giving
bro.
up on
I
diamonds or
use
what?
the deadliest.
Going on there.
I use the deadliest
I see.
item to win the Hoplite UHC. That's fire. That's a fire title and a fire thumbnail. I might just fucking steal your idea, low key, yo.
Oh, I found a mine shaft.
I don't mind chef too, but I want diamonds. I might just go with the mine shaft. See another creeper. Did I just kill them all? Oh, we might maybe able to make Artemis.
Oh, yeah, if you get TNT.
I have 5 gunpowder already. But I might make a diamond sword than to make. It's probably later in the game. Oh, my fucking leg. Oh, I see amethyst as well. It's and copper all next to each other. Okay. I think it wants me to rush Artemis for some reason. Okay. Does this work? Got 2. 6.
Wow. That is super sad.
Nope, not there. Yeah, this mine shaft, someone's in it. I'm just not gonna go in it. And there's been people been here already. Fuck.
Do we need amethyst? Do we already have it?
I have it. 10. I have 10.
Yeah. Alright.
Wait, am I tripping out or? There's like 3 people in my cave, by the way.
Free kills or?
I don't. I mean, they're mining next to each other, so maybe. But I'm just gonna. I need to get. Wait, do you have obsidian booster?
No, but I can get it.
Yeah, can you get obby? Because I didn't get any water.
Yeah,
I got obby. Don't
You
worry.
got obby? Bet.
Yeah,
I'll get
I got
iron
obby.
then. You just need iron, right?
I'm just going
Shatter?
to shatter. I think shatter already.
I don't have any
has
books.
around.
Oh,
I have
fuck.
iron.
I have
books,
2.
Good on iron.
I have 2.
I have 4 books. I'm gonna grab some glass as well for bottles. Like a lot of glass.
I need to run in a little bit before I start brewing because I'm near border.
Yep. You guys come to me. I'm at 360, 427. 427.
Alright. So I gotta save 2 diamonds for the thing, and I have just 2 left over. I'm gonna get diamond sword sharp 2. And then put the 3 on there like that. Disappear. Oh, I already had. Okay, oh, I made you leggings to make leggings.
Don't worry, I have an animal already, so it doesn't matter.
No, I don't think I love Eden. Holy.
I got 70 models. That's enough, right? Or do we need 18? Yeah, we need 18.
Do you like Eden, Shatter?
I have 12 bottles. I'm good.
Okay, nice.
I'm gonna start brewing soon. I'm gonna check this thing out really quick, and then I am brewing.
Oh my gosh, why
By the way,
55?
for the swords. Andres?
I love when you get like a late
I have
game
6
like
copper.
temple that people just haven't looted for whatever reason.
Were you at the skull temple?
No, I'm not saying that I got it. I'm just saying it's nice when you get it. I got a Infinity 1, Loyalty 3, Quick Charge 1 book.
Wait, how can you have Infinity 1, not just Infinity?
Loyalty goes crazy, right?
Loyalty is kind of mid. I won't lie.
I mean, if you do have channeling on your trident and it is raining, then it's kind of fire because it stresses people out.
I don't think it rains on the server. Has it ever rained? I don't think it does.
I don't think it does. Also, doesn't it have to be thundering?
Yeah, so thunderstorm, that's what I meant.
There's like no chance of that happening.
Are we brewing it
in a game. No, I'm just breaking spawners and shit. I don't know. I'm gonna leave this
How did you
temple
get
and then
up
brew.
there? Okay.
I ran.
No, but like I didn't see a staircase connecting to the top.
I like ran into the middle and then I went up from there. Okay, I'm just gonna brew right here.
Sure you don't want to go up in the trees?
We could perhaps. Let's go up right here.
Should.
You guys have gold?
No.
I have 10 and freak out.
Do you have any blaze rods by any chance?
I'll give you all.
Okay, yeah. I was just wondering if we had more. If I have 5 blaze rods, do you think it's 2 brewing stands? Is that fine? I think so, right? We can make 2.
Yeah.
Because
It's
it's 1 blaze
10.
powder per person for strength, right? Because we can't brew anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's 3 for fuel, so that's fine.
2 for fuel. It requires 1 blaze rod. 2. Yeah, you're good.
I guess I can just give you stuff and you could brew your stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'll do that.
I see obsidian booster.
I don't have obsidian. In the chatter.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
There's copper right here. Whoever needed it. Okay. Gents made.
You don't have any extra diamonds, right?
No.
You have some extra teammates that are rolling up. Prepare yourselves.
Oh, our teammate's 2 force diamond. Yo, teammate, any diamonds left over? Oh, no mic, never mind. Boost, you have 2 iron boosts for any chance?
Watch. I'm fully expecting this guy to grab the potions.
Oh.
Yep, 1 potion got lost.
Put it
Is this
back.
guy?
I don't know what he's doing.
Bruh.
But like, he's just wasting it.
Why?
Unfortunate. Yeah, that's just good. I'm one.
Boost is gonna lose it.
Nah, I fully expect it. I don't care.
I'm blobbing him. I don't care.
He's literally just like lagging too. He's 3-barring.
Be careful, there's people in the vicinity.
I don't care. I'm blobbing this guy.
Does you have 1 iron booster? 2 iron?
Yeah, I do. It didn't work, so.
Where's it at?
Use the water.
Oh, we just took his armor off. Oh, well, I got that straight
That's what he gets for stealing our potions.
Okay, can we even prolong the potion without using up the potion durability?
You can just put redstone on it again.
No, yeah, you can. You just have to put redstone on it.
Wait, can I get some glass?
I'm pretty sure it's allowed to do that, by the way. If your teammate like griefs you like he just did to us, so
book
it's
and
fine.
loyalty, by the way, so.
Yeah, I tossed that. I didn't really want it.
Wait, you don't have 2 iron for the anvil?
I do have anvil.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
That book as well, by the way.
What?
People?
Wait,
Booster, you should. Hold on. I'm gonna start brewing in this stand. Just grab this potion. Grab the potion from that stand when it's ready. The strength.
Okay.
I'm just making it longer.
Did you already brew your stuff ready, Shatter?
No, I was too busy dealing with the.
Oh, he gave you 2 diamonds, by the way. He gave you
Oh,
2
dub.
diamonds. There we go, got it.
I'm gonna go get a what's it called, sand real quick for mine. Ready.
Oh, I tossed out bottles. If that's what you needed.
Boosfer? I got an A in bio. Thank you. What?
Wait, I got Prod 2 enchantment. That's fine.
You guys have books?
Yeah, I do.
No, I don't.
You just need 1 book.
Didn't check it for you.
Oh,
Make a head?
dub.
Oh, I can make a G head.
Thank you.
Yeah, I can't get mine anyway.
Does anyone need a diamond sword?
Nope.
I do.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, I do.
There you go.
I had a sharpness book as well.
Okay, I brewed my potions. Andres, you need stuff for it?
Yeah. I just need things.
Somebody, is that our team coming up?
I'm tossing like all of it. Boom, 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 boom.
Dude, our teammates are actually.
What else you
really
need?
good.
You
Have
you got it all?
reds.
Yeah, I got it. All.
Bottles.
Got it.
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay.
I even
I'm just gonna
somehow got
enchant
Prot
my
2.
armor.
Yeah, I somehow got Prot 2 enchantment on my boots as well. That was crazy.
Ooh, insane.
Okay, anybody got like 3 gold for? I can craft a light apple.
My teammate's fishing.
I don't have any healing.
Okay. Do you need
I have a
sugar,
gap
by
and
the
a
way, on this?
jihad.
I have 6.
Yeah, I have. I'm good.
Okay. I have bottles as well for empty bottles if anybody needs.
I need reds. Well, actually, I have redstone. Never mind.
You guys need I dropped the bow if anyone needs it.
Oh, I need a bow. I need a bow. Where? Did you
Right
pick
here.
up the bow?
Not any bow.
Right.
Yeah, any bow.
You need a bow? Here.
Thank you.
I give you 6 string. I'll give you 3 more, Booster. We can just all make power 3.
Yeah, okay, nice.
Alright, I'm gonna go look for some kills. I don't have any healing, so.
Yeah,
Yeah,
same,
but-
same.
Just call out jihad. I can need a jihad for you if you need it.
Yeah. We made our teammates head into a jihad.
Is that
Okay,
Gamba?
he had that coming though. Like,
yeah, no, I mean,
like you don't
Okay, I got infinity bow. Huge. Everybody
watch
can get
someone
their
else
arrows?
brew, and then before they even make the potion longer, you just like yoink it. Like,
that's just
Come on.
sabotaging at that point.
come on now.
Oh, we left our enchant table. Let me grab
It's
it.
fine. The teammate's still enchanting. I don't. You've been enchanting for
No,
like
they're
past
not,
like.
they're
they're
not.
not.
We also left our brewing stands. Does that matter?
Just break it. Just break the brewing stand if you can.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm just gonna grab the wart here and then run away.
If the brewing stand is broken, then
Yeah,
people don't have blaze powder and they can't do anything with it.
Yeah, I broke it.
I've never
good.
seen.
Oh my
SMP
god. Venus is
thing?
on our team,
Have
bro.
no
They're
clue what's
just
happening?
lost, bro.
Wait,
They're
how was
lost.
Venu on our
GG's.
team?
That is lost.
Venu,
It's lost. It's GG's.
Venu. Okay.
Nah, it's GG's, bro. It's GG's, bro.
What do you call her Venus? It's literally Venu.
See you, guy.
Yes, that's the name, bro.
Okay.
You see that guy? Okay.
See him. You got him right. You don't need me to come in.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, nice. You're liking W.
He was like commentating. He's like, "Oh gosh, this guy's so stacked."
There's a guy on me. Guy on me.
I'm gonna start going in.
Potions? 2 people on me.
Okay, coming.
Okay, I have 6 gaps from that guy. So
Jesus.
let's
2
chill.
people here. They're running because they know I have pods. But one of them has diamond sword that I'm gonna just fully chase down.
I see them. They're running toward me. Actually, no, they're not.
I'm like flanking this guy. There's a guy chasing one of you. Oh,
Chasing
never mind, it's
Boosfer.
not one of you.
Oh, no, it's chasing your teammate. He turned.
I'm gonna...
There's people also at 0-0, so after we get those kills, we can just go to 0-0.
Okay,
Wait, was speed 1 also nerfed or no? Speed and strength also speed 1 nerfed or no?
No,
No, I don't
So,
think
so it's only tier 2. Gotcha.
only tier 2.
Teammate, you have arrows? No.
I got a sharp 1 sword. Still no healing though. Super bomb.
No arrows. My God,
Wait, I
bro.
got the rec rap fan. Guys. Let's go.
This guy put all of his skill into his block placing speed. It's so funny seeing those types of players.
Yeah.
They don't do anything, but they just know how to place blocks like fucking 30 a second.
Are there any people on you, by the way, Shatter?
I'm good.
Hi, swine. What's up, B bots? B bots. Hello, hello. Hi. I am playing HOPLITE. It's a battle royale server, pretty much like UHC, or other known as Hypixel UHC.
If anybody gets extra healing, let me know. By the way.
I'm an AI. I'm AI generated. Holy shit! I remember what I was gonna ask you, or I was gonna say earlier. No, I forgot.
Oh.
Yep. My brain works like that. GG.
I have an extra.
What's
sharp
up, Sag?
3
Hello.
diamond. That's
Extra sharp
needed.
3. Yeah.
Do we all have sharp 3 or no?
Yeah, I'm sharp 3. You can go for sharp
Okay.
4.
Yeah, I'll just make sharp 4. I have XP bottles.
It's like 8 levels, right?
Yeah, it's 8.
It's I think it's like
No, it's
is it?
7 if you don't need to repair. If it's 8 if you do need to
I think
repair.
it's 12 levels. I'm not gonna
No,
lie.
it's not. It's 8. It's 8.
It's 8 because I think Reddoons is. I don't actually. I
Yeah,
don't know.
no,
It was
every time-
weird.
every-
I swear
no,
it's
no,
12
every
as
time
well,
when
but
I
I thought
combine it,
It's 8?
8 if it's like if both the swords are used up. It's 7 if one of the swords.
Oh,
is
you know
upgraded
what?
First.
It's because the swords have only been combined in an anvil once. That's why.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's why they're so cheap.
I need a anvil though.
I
Oh,
mean,
you know what? I've been thinking about solos because I remember in solos combining it and it's 12 every time, but that's
yeah,
because
in solos, getting
you don't get
12
offense path. Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Where is everyone at
Only
though?
rock with- I don't know, I'm running to Andre, so why am I doing that when he doesn't have any people?
Oh, there's a portal here with crying Obby on top.
Ooh.
Grab it if you have diamonds.
I don't have any diamonds. I'm freaking full
I
armor.
probably gotta head out after this game. I gotta eat dinner.
I bet. Oh, that's right. Your ESC, right?
Yeah.
Damn. Very about to eat lunch.
Well, I
Man.
ordered food today, by the way, and I just never arrived. It wasn't
Wow,
marked
why
as
do you order
delivery,
food?
it
Isn't
never
that
arrived.
unhealthy? Wow, SMH booster. You should go outside.
Burrito bowl is pretty good. Like it's pretty nutritious.
Oh, nice. So you ate Chipotle pretty much. W.
Yeah, something like that.
Um.
Yeah, I don't see any people. Oh,
You have anvil? Yeah.
Do you have gold? 2 heads.
I have 5.
Oh, I
It's
can
10
craft the
levels.
light apple. I can craft the
It's
light
10.
apple.
I think that just
10
means this guy didn't
levels?
go. It means, yeah, it just means they didn't go offense path and they actually manually made the sharp 3. Gold.
What the f? What's up, MC Milk? Oh, fuck.
My
Almost
pants
fell
are
in that thing.
unbreaking through mending. These pants will never break.
Damn, so there's a chance for Son to cross.
What's up, Sag? How's it going? Pretty good. What's up,
I
Orbit?
doubt
Hello.
it.
Yeah, I have Alzheimer's.
But maybe.
GG's.
Sorry.
Wait, do you get?
Where is everybody? Actually?
I'm actually. I don't know what I want to say.
These lobbies
Our
feel pretty
teammates
free
are-
right now.
Yeah, even our teammates aren't here.
Like,
You
I
know
feel
what
like
time
on
is
the
free
server, if
lobbies?
you really.
Late night lobbies are crazy fun.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, with all the
The-
nons.
No, the thing is, I think the good people just quit when they see a non-bastion game.
What?
The people that actually. I've quit so many times when I just don't see Bastion. When I see Fortress, I just quit and solos elite.
It's so boring getting like 5 Fortress games in a row. That's like the most boring thing on
Yeah,
the
it
server.
is.
Because
Look
like
at yeah.
potions just like mean you win, but it's also just like so boring. I see an entire team of awful irons.
Oh shit, I'm
This
coming.
guy's Artemis bow.
Huge,
I'm
bro.
hella far.
They have, okay, this guy's Flame and the other one is Artemis, so I'm just gonna start running now.
I am 240 blocks away, so just run to me.
Fuck, I threw my compass out again.
I still have a little bit of potions left.
Wait, cord shatter?
These guys are so afraid. I'm at 0-0, like exactly.
Okay, I'm
These
400
guys are
blocks.
so afraid. I just tried to run at them and they had Artemis and Flame and just like sat back 2v1 bowed me.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. We don't have much healing, so we can't actually tank.
Okay.
It. We need to go in.
Yeah, I just
I'm 300 blocks now.
I have like a
I don't have that many
potions,
blocks.
maybe 2 minutes.
I have 9. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I have 2 minutes
23.
potions still.
Same. 2 minutes and a half.
this guy's
There are
Flame
people down in the
Artemis.
cave, by the way, near us. There's
Flame
there's people down in the
Artemis?
cave near us.
Yeah, this guy's Artemis with Flame on it.
Okay. There are also 2 people in the cave near us. I think they might be fighting or going.
Alright, well, yeah.
Holy fuck, these guys are so afraid of me. Like,
There's a person behind you, by the way. People behind you.
yeah, I
Zero
need you guys
140.
to.
Yeah, we're coming. I'm coming. I'm coming from.
I'm
behind.
140.
Yeah, yeah, like we shouldn't even care about the dude. Holy fuck, these guys actually love it.
I think I see you.
Behind one.
I think we're behind everyone.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just let your
pause.
teammate die, bro.
I think I see their teammates.
12. Come on.
Are they like? Yeah, I see you. Okay, I see them.
They only ball.
Yeah, this guy's just sitting here bowing while we chase them. Like, yeah, keep bowing, man, while we kill your teammate.
Oh, I'm so bad.
That one?
He's in river, really?
Not a pickaxe. Take that. Careful, Venu. Keep chasing, Venu. Keep chasing. Oh, I see this. Oh my god, they're fighting.
These guys are so annoying. It is unbelievable.
Oh fuck. But it's a whole different team.
We actually might die. Like, I don't have blocks,
fuck.
so
I'm going in.
I have to pot up and I have to gap.
Yeah, it's fine. I can 1v2.
Wait, this is not you guys. This is a whole different team. Wait, what are your chords?
My guy's on 8th. I'm turning on your guy though.
That one's at 4. He's gapping.
Oh fuck.
Really? I'm gonna die against my guy, I think. Yeah.
Oh.
That's so fucking annoying. They do 3 hearts a hit.
Oh my god, I'm gonna get puffer scanned in. I might die here.
They got my potions that dropped.
Yo,
as well. That's
yo,
so
teammate. Oh my, he has no microphone.
What is this one on?
He's on 15. That is the most annoying strategy ever, man.
No, they're so ass.
Also-
If I just have like
also-
blocks.
No, I swear to God, by the way, speed 1 is nerfed. Because I was running straight in a straight line with him. Not
Dude,
catching
holy
up at
fuck,
all.
they're just so afraid. Like, they actually will not even fight a 2v1 like with swords. Like,
That's understandable.
Andres, bro, we
do-
need.
we
You
do
need
have
me? I'm
bots.
coming. I'm like
Yeah.
low on healing.
I'm so sad that none of them dropped though. Like, are both of them just still alive, or is one of the?
Where you guys at?
Neg 50, neg 170.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just getting chased by
You
this
know
team
what's
now.
the next strat, by the way, for countering this? We should just start using rods. Like,
Hey,
doing them
if
back.
we were just all there, we would have just killed them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's
true,
2
but
guys
also,
chasing
like,
me
all
as
three of
well.
us.
But also, like, next time we just craft rods straight up.
Guys are annoying, bro.
That's the only way.
Alright, yeah, we can fight this really fast.
I get this, man.
He's on 20. One heart. Yeah, Barbara scanning. Careful. They poisoned me.
Yeah, there's another team behind us with like flame bows and Artemis.
Yeah.
Flame Artemis. This other team just doesn't notice, I guess, which is why they're chasing us for whatever reason. We're just gonna get clean and die.
Yeah.
Dude, oh my god, none of these people know what they're doing. Please.
Yo, atrás de ustedes.
Please pay attention, please pay attention. There's a team with Flame Artemis behind you.
Tienen flame atrás de nosotros.
You literally killed our teammate.
Dude, yes, but there's a guy with flame.
It doesn't
bro.
matter, you're gonna throw your game to try to kill us. Like, there's a team with Flame Artemis behind you.
Make sure we focus up, guys.
Okay, well,
These guys aren't even engaging. They're still Artemis bowing. And missing everything. That is crazy.
actually insane. They're just throwing their game.
Yeah, hello? Like, you just woke up or what?
I'm out of healing. I'm 7 hearts.
Yeah, same.
Oh shit.
I just have 2 normal heads. I guess I'm just gonna pop some Aries and just hope.
The guy's coming too, by the way.
Yeah.
Shatter. Powerfish guy's coming too.
Dude,
That guy's dead now, like nice. And I got the Artemis bow bowing me. And they're just gonna target me now. Alright.
no way he pre-G-headed that fight, running in when I was on 5 hearts.
That is unfortunate.
Dude, that Artemis team was so bad. Like, we could have killed them so easily if we were just all there.
I'm sure.
Rods. I'm gonna start uphanding rods. I'm not gonna lie.
I mean, it just doesn't really work on here, though.
No, it would have worked on them. If they were really just running straight forward, and I couldn't catch up.
That was my bad.
I don't know why.
Dude, they push you in a cave and they still bowed you as the final hit. It's the craziest part.
Yeah.
That team's probably not even gonna win. They're like, the thing about using that kind of strategy where like you just like wait the entire game to get Artemis and Flame and shit is that the only way they kill people is if they just drain all their healing first. They're just not gonna have any healing.
I mean, if we had more healing, we just don't. Like we don't.
Like,
need-
our
yeah.
came through. It's like going
For sure.
after us right there, too. Like, what?
Nah,
Yeah, I'm not
feel
really
we
sure
just
why they
threw-
did
we needed-
that.
We needed to wait for Andres or just gather up before we did anything. 'Cause,
Yeah, I thought I was trying to look for people, and I went like 400, 500 blocks out away from 0-0 and just couldn't find anyone.
All good.
My bad, my
It
bad, my bad.
happens.
unfortunately,
GG's.
I probably got too aggressive on that team, so I just really wanted to get them
I
out
did
because
too, bro.
they
I'm
were gonna
sorry.
be the biggest rats ever if we tried to fight anyone. That's 0-0. Like I already knew.
And they did have healing, obviously. 'Cause they were chugging Gaples.
What's up, Jocelyn? Hi,
Yeah.
Jocelyn. Yo, Jax, man. Thanks for the follow. I appreciate it.
You know, did you pick up my pots or did one of the other guys pick up my pots?
I don't think I picked
I
them
drink
up.
it all. I drink everything. Shit.
Well, unfortunate. So I'm gonna jump off.
Bad.
Yeah, I gotta go eat. But
Alright, for sure.
it's fun playing, guys.
Yep.
Definitely play another time.
Yep, for sure. Hit me up.
Have a good one,
later,
y'all.
guys. Bye-bye.
Peace.
Alright, chat. I'm playing solos now. It's my solo time. It's solos time. Solo Real. Yeah, unlucky game. I pulled a Boosfer and didn't play with my team there. Your friend Booster is now online. Of course he is. Hi, Brodus. Brodus is right in front of me. Yeah, Minitech? Wait, low-key? Wait, he actually might be playing already with frickin' his friend Wembu. Let's see. No, Minitech is not on anymore. He left. Did he? No, he's right there. Why is he a pink skin? What is that skin? I'm gonna unnick this game. If I get targeted, I get targeted. Fuck it. Alright, chat. I'm back. I'm back. Wait, I keep forgetting to pin my Discord in my chat. I'll protect you, but not. Wait, don't do that. Don't get banned. There you go. Told you we're gonna lose with Venue on our team. That's fucking nuts. That's wild. That's so mean. Who's for shut your oof for head ass up. Muscle at a party like that. Yeah, this Booster guy is cringe, right, chat? I'm gonna call it Booster, bro. SMH. There's a reason that my back be hurting every time I play with them, you know? That's just me. Wait, was there a Valorant update that I miss? Because you're back at 64 years old. Shut your. Oh my god, bro. I'm about to. Oh, boost for a cat. Okay. 8th place. Chat, can you get an 8th place in chat, please? For this guy, for this bozo guy. Imagine being 8th fucking place, buddy. 8th fucking place. GG. G freaking G. Why is rest in peace trending? Oh no. Who died? Who passed away? Someone passed away. Wait, what? Anyways, I found so many cute emotes. Wait, what? Prepared to be so proud. I bet. Add them all. So Shunshit can see him. I forgot to put my Twitch thing in chat so that everyone can see my Twitch link. I just gotta make sure there's no streamers. I hate doing it when there's like an actual streamer. Oh, he might get the freaking crying over here. Yeah, everyone's and their mother's down there. What are you doing? Why are you trying to mine the diamond? Okay. There you go. I'm ready for you, man. Don't worry. Chat. I am hungry. I'm hella hungry, actually. Cigarettes on cigarettes on mama. Thanks for the lurk. We'll hide in the game. No, you're not. What? Dinner time. Okay, okay. Pop off, pop off. Have a good dinner. Have a good dinner. Butter kisses. Wait, mods, can you guys change the title to solo hoplite or something? Oh, is that my... Hi, Hungry. I'm Queen. Nice to meet you. What's up, Queen? Wait, isn't it like late for you right now, Venu? Isn't it like literally 12 a.m. already? It needs more. It does need more. Have fun. Have fun with the title. Shit. I gotta get better at rushing Nether, bro. Like, I don't know. I don't like rushing it because I hate pots. But I mean, with the bashing game, it's just like, wow, it's just there, you know? Why didn't I get any? Oh. Bruh, I can make it this. I miss my cocoa butter kisses. Best player NA. Okay. Big wins. Actually, W title. Okay. Okay, Vanny. Okay. W upgrade as well. Okay. All right. Let's see. Probably someone in Nether already, but it doesn't hurt. It just should look for it. Something. It's like water right there. I'm just blind as hell. All creds go to elite draw. Yep. All credits go not to me. I hate. Wait, what am I saying? I don't even know what the hell I'm saying. Oh, I see diamonds. Just go ahead and see him. Ooh, 3 diamonds. Nice. We'll go another. Look at my scuffed portal making, bro. I'm late already to Nether, but it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. All right. Casting everywhere. I don't see it. I don't see him yet. I don't see him. Is that on Beach TV or is that 7 TV? Shift 3. Fuck. Fuck. It might be Bastion. But where? Might be at 0-0. Most likely at 0-0. Cigarettes on cigarettes up. What's up, Sam? How are you, Sam? How are you? How are you? Go, go. Might want to turn right here. Okay. Wait, that's like, okay. That's spannable. Oh, oops. See you there. I'm just going straight up. refresh, but I'll refresh. It's 7 TV. Usually I see them added right away, but like when some shit adds them, I see them, but it's not working for some reason. Does it work? Does it work? I'll refresh my page right now. I will refresh in a bit. By the way, chat, I did not miss today, so I did not get the sub yet. I don't need to get the sub. I think a border or something? Where is it at? No. Bro, where is this bastion at? Oh, fuck. I mean, on the bright side, it's a bastion, but still, it's like, where? Could be in the Soul Sand Valley. Could be. Wait, someone just died over here. Did he fall down to his death? Where? Where'd he fall? Huh? I saw the lightning behind me. Bruh. Hi, Destroyer. How are you, Destroyer? Oh, alright, Destroyer. Oh, what a minute. Good, good, you? Pretty good, man. Just playing some UHC. Never be better. Just playing UHC and vibing, bro. Trying to find this guy's stuff, though. I don't know where he died. Did he, like... Oh, okay. Yeah, I knew it. Wait, do you have a dime pick? No, what do you... Don't blow me up. Wait, a pearl? Wait. Okay. Let's see, an emerald. A water bucket. My ice here, bro. UHC vibe, yeah, bro. I mean, you know, I used to be a big UHC guy back then. Then I quit, and then I came back, and I'm loving it ever since. Have you played HOPLITE at all, Destroyer, or no? What's up, Ibby? Oh, Gamba? Oh, I was doing Gamba. You can turn it on in the next 2 minutes if you want. What happened, Sam? White bog. I just suck. Fair enough. I mean, I suck too. I just go for like the meta, you know? Whatever the meta is, I just go for it. Like right now, the meta is still nether rushing. That's like winnable. It's like you get pots, you just win. But I don't know. I've won the game. But I don't prot rush, you know? Yeah, I don't know. I can't find the damn fortress or whatever, the bastion. All right, it's cool. Oh my god. A pink eye? Oh my god. Yeah, pink eyes are horrible. I had pink eye when I was in high school. It ruined my eyesight. No troll. A real story, by the way. Why did someone go all in on no? Are you fucking serious? Who did that? Yo, who has no faith in me? And why? What did I ever do to you? The fuck? Okay. See a portal here. I'm just gonna go through this. Oh, yeah, I wanted to. Yeah, I don't know. If you voted that I was gonna lose. Wow. I see how it is. Nah, it's all good. It's all good. Just wait till I win. You're like, oh shoot, he actually won the game. I can see you. She's so hurt. I'm so hurt. My head hurt. Matter of fact, kick it to the curb. I love Uzi. You should wait. Sure. When are you getting back to content? Hi, Soul. How's the game going? Pretty good. Well, I've lost 2 and 1-1 so far, so my day's going mid. Okay. Okay. Never mind. My game's going amazing. Maybe I should complain. If I just complain some more. You don't know. Do you plan on coming back to Content Destroyer? Or not really? Who's it that used to make fun of you? All my hundreds blue. Little, I'm done with you. I'm not gonna cuss. Stand in front of you. I heard when I was 22. Damn, I need more. I'll be going pretty good. I mean, now it is. No, actually, well, the game that we won, I mined full diamond plus diamond sword and enchants. So, I mean, I guess, you know, but hold on, I'm gonna make a sec. All right, lock in chat. Wait, can I make a sharp 3? Ew, what are these enchants? Okay. Throw that out. Sharp. Sharp. Cool. And then just make anvil real quick. 1 sec, chat. 1 sec. 1 sec. Sharp 2. We'll go up. Get lapis on the way. We can be 1 gap and 1 regular head, which is I think better than just having 1 G head. What's up, Zolfi? Is this Terraria? Why the sounds? Okay, what's happening? Why are you joking? Why are you joking with Venus guy, huh? Okay, for sure, for sure. I thought the guy running was a guy running full diamond, bro. Yo, can I? Hello? I'm literally just like looking up and down. I don't have any arrows. Oh. Is that a logged person? Yo, am I dumb, bro? I swear I saw a logged person. Alright, let's go to 0-0. Alright. There we go. Wait, who went all in? Who was it? Who was a fake person that went all in on me losing? Make this. Oh, fuck. Oh, I have no lapis. Never mind. Oh, pearl. Sweat. Oh, there's a lot of people in this cave. I don't know where they went. What's Z-Conk on? Ricky Pizza. What a W name. I'm 40. He's 4 barring. He might be a lag person. What have you been gaming, huh, Sophie? I saw you were on Dark and Darker, and you're also playing like. Are you playing WoW? Have you been playing WoW? This guy saw me already. Still doesn't want to fight me though. Come on, fight me, fight me, fight me. Come here, fight me. Wait, Shirley? Oh, that's another guy right there. Yo, 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 hey, right behind you, 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 right behind you. It's me.
I know.
You're fighting or what's up? Nice, dude. What's up? We fighting next or what? Surely we're gonna fight next, right? Hey man, where are you running to? Come here. Come hither, come hither, come. Wait, why am I 600 0? What? So where'd this guy run? Okay. Yeah, 7TV weird. Wait, this is not where I landed earlier. Okay, whatever. Do I have bread still? Throw my bread out. Okay, make that. Make her a jihad. Get an apple. I could go for it. Wait, what do I? A clock. Okay. Need 4 gold. I have gunpowder. I could low-key just go. I could get Enderbow. Low-key. I would still need gold though. Should I go for Enderbow? Or nah? Sure. Let me put this person here first. Okay. Is he gonna fight me? Come on, bruh. Come on, bruh. Nice. Okay. Yo, this shit's annoying. Okay. Oof. Still on 38. Jesus. I have an idea. Hi, Joker. What the fuck? It just scared me. I like a lot of healing, low key. All right, cool. Bye. All right, as you would. Holy shit. All right, Joker. How's your day today, Joker, huh? Guys, Artemis, what? Yo, Ricky Pizza, come here, bro. Hello? Why is he like actually bow locked? Drop them. Bro. GG, man. What would be some more? XP bottles. Yo, how do you drop that fast, bro? It's crazy. Your feathers? You know what I need to do? This song's fire, dude. I love this song. Yo, Sword. What's up, Sword? Hello. We win these? Yes, Jocelyn. We win these for sure. Hope so. Wait. Is there any redstone? Wait, they actually shot him. When you hear that little noise, by the way, that means I shot him. Like, it's curving. Like that right there, it's gonna kill him. Oh my god. Jesus, dude. I have 9 gaps? Jesus, okay. Oh, bro, diamonds too. I want to get redstone. That's what I need. Where's the redstone at? I thought he had redstone, no? Did they toss it out? Did they not pick it up? What's happening? Okay. Oh my god, hi Daisy. What's up, goat? Oh, you're the goat, Daisy. How are you, Daisy? Wait, I haven't talked to you in like forever. The last time we talked was like, I forgot when. Like Valorant, no? Built sword wrong. Nice. Is Hoplite UHC fun? Yes, Hoplite UHC is fun. Very fun, actually. And sweaty. Oh shit. I'm currently in Team Battle Royale. Join up. Yeah. Yeah, let me just join up real quick. Yeah, I got you. Yeah. I see everyone on. Yeah, it's really fun. I was top leaderboards for like a week, and then Finebrick took over. Finebrick and Fruit took over. It's crazy. I'll come back though. I'll be back. I'll be back on that leaderboard. I seen like 10 hours straight, and I'll grind. If you ever want to play Daisy, let me know. Let me know. I literally play with everyone. Unlike some of my friends, they want to win. No, I want to. I'll play to have fun. Literally just woke up. What's up, Chaotic? Hello. Bro, my... Someone right there, bro. I need this guy to like pop out so I can just bow him. Oh, damn, he's getting kills. Knew it. This bow does damage from what? It's a sword. Strap 3? Strap 1. Hits him. Nice. Please hit him. Oh, it's close. I only watch S tier gameplay. That's why I'm here. I'm like a B tier. But I mean, you know, I could be S tier if I wanted to, you know. I could be swayed like Stu. That guy's too sweaty though. Oh, that hits him. That hits him. Ooh! Yo, toy. Yo, where you running? Yo, come back here, bruh. Wait. Oh, no way. That hit him. No, that's crazy. It's supposed to... What did that hit him? Oh my god. Wait. That's him. This bow's busted. Oh, he's in the cave now. Fuck. That's not good. No, what I want for a long time. Where'd he go? Oh, this guy here. Hello? Killed him. Get gaps. Did you have gaps or just gold? Yo. Can I pick the gold up? Yeah, dude, what's with everyone having all these diamonds, bro? Or no diamonds? An enchanted diamond sword, redstone. These have like a lot of redstone. Oh no. Alright, let's see. Fuck. This game check general media. Okay. Fuck, no one has redstone. This guy's still down here, I'm pretty sure. Where'd he... Did he actually go down here? I see him.
You should,
What's up, bro?
No, I think you're fine. I think you're fine.
What? You're gonna be fine.
I think you're fine. I don't
Nah.
think you need to do all that right now. Come on, deathmatch is in 20 or 40
Nah, you know, nah. Uh-oh. Nah, that's crazy. Wait. All right, bro. See you in deathmatch.
I will not concede. All right, good luck, bro.
Good luck, bro. GL.
GL.
Oh, hello, TNC. All right. Yo, to the person that voted 10,000 on no, I hope you lose. Yo. FNCN chat. Like, what is his name? Okay, you know what? Just gotta teeth clean this, guys. What sword? No diamonds? I have 7. There's just like these people left. Yeah, I have an Artemis. I don't know. Wait, there's a go. Oh, I see. Oh, I see. Yo, FNS champ, bruh.
I'm not trying to cross it, so I'm just gonna get away from this guy.
Gotta put this shit. You're full diamond? Nah.
It was chest. It was chest. Dude, you win this game so hard. Actually, I have like no heals.
Really?
Melee.
Nah, I'm good. I also have like no healing.
Reasonable. Oh, potentially. This could be my first solo win.
Holy shit.
Bro, you don't miss.
I don't.
100% accuracy is crazy.
I'm not gonna lie, I need redstone right now.
this guy on the roof is a flame bow.
Oh, really?
God, you're stacking up.
No. Who said that?
What'd you get? What'd you get?
This
other guy.
A lot of healing. I'll tell you that much.
Oh, wait, back here. There's a diamond.
Holy shit. Yeah. Okay. Wait, who's a diamond chestplate? I want a diamond chestplate. Wait, who has a flame bow?
The guy on the roof over there.
Oh, it's sharp one diamond. I don't need that. I shot him. Wait, it's diamond chestplate. What is it? Name is Home Depot? This guy's name? Okay, well, I have an idea. Ow! I don't miss. Can like the I get like prot. No prot still. Okay. There's sorry, man. I gotta.
Power 2 short.
Holy fuck!
Wait, I'm getting killed by dogs. It's over. You're nuts.
All right, this guy's actually annoying.
Yeah. Go for him. I'll bow him too. No cross team. No cross team.
I'm one bow you too. You know. Whew. Okay. Hey, I shot him. Hey, I shot him again.
Luckily, this guy can't hit his shots. So I'm not really taking.
Okay, well, he's just. I don't know about you, but he's been hitting his shots on me.
You have YouTube rank, but like, what do you do?
Twitch streamer, YouTube, Manhunt, YouTube, you know, the usual. I haven't uploaded like in 2 weeks, but I need to upload soon. Ow. I need something. How? Okay. Chat, do I win this game? I actually might lose low-key. I need to get arrows, bro. No arrows. Any feathers anywhere, or I've like shot this guy why is he going up? What? Ow. All right. Okay. So, what was in? I don't know. This guy just wants me dead, though. I also have no arrows, bro. Wait a second. Hold on. Give me all those arrows. Wait. Okay. Yeah, guys, still health. 35. Oh, fuck. Hi, Simply. Sorry, man.
Put me in the video.
GG's. GG! Oh my god, I won! Oh, I wanted to find his stuff. No, I already destroyed it all. Never mind, I won't be able to find his stuff. GG's. GG's. Oh my. Shameless plug, shameless plug, shameless plug, shameless plug. Holy fuck. That was low-key sweaty, bro. Oh, fuck. Woo! Good fight, bro. Good fight. GFs. Sorry I played annoying, bro. I played so annoying that fight, bro. Damn. I won that game. actual W, bro. I forgot I'm not muted. Fuck. GG's chat. Okay, chat. I'm low-key hungry. I haven't ate all day. I actually no, I did eat taquitos, but yeah, we ended up today as a draw, 2-2. And yeah, chat. I will see y'all later. I'm gonna go. Oh, oops. I'm gonna go, chat. I'm gonna raid someone before I go. So stick for the raids. Stick for the raid. Let's see. Who do I raid? I can raid. Oh, just not playing. Oh, I know I can raid. It seems like they're playing HOPLITE. I'll rate this person. All right, chat. I'll see you guys later. I'm gonna raid Boomer NA. All right, we'll see you guys later though. Have fun. Be nice in the chat, or I'll ban you in mine. All right, bye guys. Thank you guys for watching the stream. Bye now. Bye. Peace out. 07. Wait, join my Discord though, for real though. Like, actually, if I actually want you guys to join something,